rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh, no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No, warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of we children. Can you tell me when will it end? How many more must carry this load? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more? Before we trot down Zion Road. How many more? Sing wayo, 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 wayo. Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a happy hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, Jah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution?
Why must we carry this load?
Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's too many big shots and too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. But yeah, how can your children go? How many more, Jah, must carry this load? How many more, Jah, before we trot Zion Road? Sing with me. How many more, Jah, must carry this load? How many more, Jah, before we trot Zion Road? How many more? How many more? How many more? How many more, Jah? How many more? How many more? How many more, my children? How many more? How many more? Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bending knees, oh Jah. How many more? How many more, my children? Sing whoa. Hear my plea, oh Jah. A song from my land.
Good night, good night, good night, Barbados. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show, and we are coming to you live from, what is this country? Barbados. We are coming to you live from Barbados. So good night, Caribbean. Good night, world. Wherever you are watching from, I'm hoping that you're hearing me now. So put your thumbs up if you're hearing me nice and clear. Oh, nice and clear. And put up, thumbs up. If you can hear me, good night, Monica Payne. Good night. Give me something. Yes, Tamika. I saw you said, Tamika, make sure your mic is checked. Yes, Tamika. I do that every night, but sometimes things happen. But thank you so much for reminding me to do that. Nigel Carrington, good evening, Nigel. Good evening, Nigel. Listen. How many of you praying for Barbados? I know some of you are watching and say, I don't believe in prayer. I don't, we want to try, we have to try something. Oh my goodness, that little piece at the beginning, doesn't it pull at your heartstrings? Tyranny, yes. Judy Jilks, yes. Doesn't it pull at your heartstrings? 33 of our young men, strong young black men. They have died, and it's working out to be like probably one a week that dies in Barbados and Tyranny. And we are going to do this is not a political march by no way. Anytime it comes on to crime and violence, it can be political. Obviously, there are some things we are calling on the government to do for us in terms of policies and some things in terms of laws. But we all have to work together to make this happen, to see the decrease in gun violence. It's going to take all of us together. Yes. And so when we come out on Saturday, bring the children. School hasn't started back as yet. Put on a white shirt on them. You could wear white top and a colored bottom, but just have on something white. And preferably a white top, white bottom. Your full white is quite good. It's perfect, actually. Yeah, I don't know, but I think I'm going to wear a white top and a black bottom. All right. And we're meeting at 10 o'clock. We're going to be 10 o'clock. We are going to be at Kensington, right there at the Kensington Mall, where it used to be Massey Car Park, but Massey isn't there anymore. So that's where we're going to be, 10 o'clock. So I'm inviting you to come down, please. This is important. Even if you couldn't attend the other marches, I think this solemn walk is something that you should try to attend. Everybody, bring the children. Let's send a strong message. All right, we're going to have the truck. We're going to have Shaquani Hunt. It's going to be Ezekiel John, and we have some singers there as well. Poets will be there on top of the truck. The young people are going to be on there, speaking to us and asking for this scourge to leave our island. Very, very important, very important. So while government would need to do their part, we're going to hold them accountable, but we have to hold ourselves accountable too, to ask what are we doing for Barbados, because it's really all about that. Okay. Very, very important. And we're going to ask you, everybody, Erwin, Nurse, good evening. Patrick, good evening. Ansel, Sealy, good evening. CG, good evening. CG is actually making she made all those placards that you saw earlier in the video the promo video that we have there. That we're going to put this out on that promo video is going to go out on WhatsApp. And we're kindly asking you, there's certain things we're asking you to do. Once you see that promo video on WhatsApp, can you please share it? Please share it in all of the chats and encourage people from your church, your community groups, your schools, wherever people meet, at your workplace, to come out. It's important. It's very, very important that we do so. So ask people to come out on Saturday at 10 o'clock. All right. CG is going to make, unfortunately, she has to go back to make another 6 or 7 other placards with the names of young men that have passed in the last, I would say, 6 weeks, actually, because it seemed like we do one a week. That's what's going on. So we're going to make those, and she's working on that, and we'll have all of those placards there for you on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Invite somebody to come down. It's really all about this. It doesn't matter about which party it is and which party is in power. The point is that we have an issue. We have a major crisis in Barbados, and we need all hands on deck. Everybody, regardless of your persuasion, whatever it is, this is what we're defending right now. It's all about Barbados. We are too small. We're not Jamaica. you know, where this can be going on for years in Jamaica, and Jamaica is still existing. What's going to happen to little Barbados? That's a parish, one parish of Jamaica. We can't allow it to happen. Yes, and so this is to all of those who say, well, why don't you talk about what's happening in Jamaica? I am speaking about what's happening in Barbados so that we do not end up like Jamaica. And I'm sure that's what you want as well. So we're all on the same page. Let's work together. All right. And with that, we are going to go right into our national anthem. I didn't get a chance to greet everybody. You know, I love to greet everybody, but good night to everybody who's joined. And we just want to acknowledge everybody who's on tonight, whether you said hello or you didn't say hello. I want to thank those who have been calling in at the 9 o'clock hour. People are enjoying that section of the show and believe it's a great addition. And so I'm going to ask you to get ready to call in tonight. And we have a great show lined up for you. I'm going to talk about that after the anthem. So right now, if you have not shared, I'm going to kindly ask you to share. Right? I'm going to ask you to like and share the show, so that people will know that we're actually on. Yeah, so go ahead, find the show. Well, you're here, so you found it, but like and share. Okay, thank you so very much. Let's stand for the playing of the national anthem. Oh Lordy, you feeling the patriotism? Anybody out there feeling? Anybody feeling the patriotism out there? Is anybody feeling the patriotism? Can you believe that they went and tried to bury this flag? Huh? They went and tried to bury this flag and still remain a prime minister of Barbados? Oh my goodness, Bajans, what we doing? Anybody feeling that patriotism? Let me hear the loyal sons and daughters of Barbados. Anybody out there? Let me hear you. Let me hear you. Yes. Thumbs up if you're feeling that patriotism. Ooh, I tell you. I tell you, oh my goodness, I'm feeling that all the way into my bones. Every time I hear that anthem, it is special. And to those of you who like to say that I'm not from here, make sure it's not upside down. Read it. Can you read? What you see there? What you see there? Tell me what you see there, and let me show you the pretty girl that's on the inside of it. Next thing you say, I bring somebody's thing to show you. Well, this passport's picture is not that pretty. Here, look at me trying to find a say. No, the picture not pretty at all. But that's me. That's me right there. That's me. That's me. So you all screenshot this and show those that political prostitute. Screenshot it and show the political prostitute. Screenshot it and show them. 26 years of this. Yeah, 26 years. 26 years. Yes, and it's legit. It's legit. It is legit. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I won't even call the name. I won't even call the name of that political prostitute that going from contract to contract, that every 6 months they dangle something before that person and then they decide that they're going to curse people. That don't happen here. Hey, 26 years. Yeah, constitutionally, I got all rights in here, boy. All rights in here. Longer. I've lived longer than I've ever lived in the country I was born in. Hey, take it back. Come take it back. Yeah, Constitution, baby. All right. So I don't know what that's all about. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I tell you. And I want to, before my next guest comes on, I want to say to everybody that you know how we raise our money on this show. The mic you see here comes from someone. The camera I'm looking at you through comes from someone. Someone actually in the US sent it, brought it here for me. Yeah, so those are the companies. The companies must be the people. It's you. They're talking about you. You are the ones that give me what I need to have. The laptop I'm borrowing right now from someone, a loyal daughter. Yeah, right here in Barbados. Yes, if this somebody brings it to me and they give it to me right here in Barbados. Yeah, all right. So I just, I like to keep it real with you. I love to keep it real with you. The lights, you see me on the lights, camera action, the lights that's here, donated, given to me. Didn't buy them. Didn't buy them. Arbitrary people. Everything comes together. Yeah? And the people, why do the people, they bought one of these at Caswell to remember. Why do the people do this? They want to hear us. They want to hear us. Okay? Yes. So we're not even going to call any name. I just thought I got so many calls. A pastor called me today. I said, I'm fine. Are you sure you're okay? Yes, I'm fine. I'm quite fine. Don't worry about it. So we're not gonna lose any more time. We're not gonna lose any more time on that issue there. Yes, you can know that your girl ain't taking no money from nobody. Nobody pay my bills. Okay, wonderful. So we got that out the way. Well, I have a special guest for you tonight. We have a special guest for you tonight, and he's a former police officer. He did his studies in Toronto, Canada, where he made the Dean's List in Law and Society and a Master of Arts in Music. He's an enthusiast in the film industry, as well as socio-legal analysis and research. And he is no other than Abraham Millington. And I want to welcome him to the show tonight.
Yes, a pleasure
Yes,
to be here.
yes. Good night, sir. Good night, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here on the Marcia Week show.
Yes.
And this is your first time, and I want to give you a very special welcome.
Well, thanks very much. I could say that you have the what the old folks would say, the testicle fortitude to withstand all the naysaying and but indeed it shows that you have to be doing something really good to be to have such a ominous force trying to come against you. If you were doing nonsense and it was trivial minutia, you wouldn't have such a great host trying to make your platform into nothing. See, so continue.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. Thank you. We won't even spend any
Right.
more time on that kind of thing. We're moving on. We are about education. It's about motivation, mobilization, agitation. That's what we are about. Well, Mr. Millington, I asked you to I invited you on the show because you called me yesterday and you were talking to me about, it wasn't yesterday, day before actually, and we were speaking about the cybercrime bill where they, we made a fuss about it here in Barbados. And what happened is that they decided, I am sorry, I'm getting a message here from Umar Johnson. Like I have to take, I'm just sending him a message. This is Umar Johnson. I don't know if you know Umar Johnson, Mr.
Oh
Millington.
yes, he is well
Yes.
he is well researched. I know of him. I know of him.
Yes, I would love for him to come on to talk about the cyber crime bill. So he just sent me a message at 7:21. We're trying to get Umar Johnson on the show. And so he's going to tell me when he can join us, and I will let you know when that is. But
All right.
what has happened with this cybercrime bill is that it was passed in the upper house, and that was in February, and then they brought it to the lower house. By that time is when we got wind of it, when the public got wind of it, because it was done so quietly, you know and by the time it got to the Senate, we actually had, Mr. Thorne across the floor, and he had appointed two senators. So it was now, we are now hearing of things that's happening, because without that, without them making an issue of it, a lot of people did not know what was going on. And so we made a fuss about it. We went on the streets, we wrote letters, we went into parliament, we presented all of these different things, and they said they were going to take everything into consideration. They came back and they changed a few words out of the bill. Okay, so they took out a few words out of the bill, and then they took a few words out, and then, but what they did, they kept in some. All right, so some of the words that's left back in is it's anxiety, right? Words like anxiety, um in emotional distress. So if you posted something and somebody feels anxious, or they feel any sort of emotional distress, right? You could be fined 10,000. It was $7,000 before. They've now raised it, just like they raised the food prices. It's
So
now raised
100,000.
to 10,000, $3,000 put on, right? Instead of what am I saying? Yes,
70,
instead of 7 years, it's now 10 years,
10 years. Okay.
right? So they went up by 3 years put on, right? And this is what they're now bringing to us. And I know you saw that, and I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Can you share with us some of what's going through your mind?
Well, first of all, you don't have to be a legal wizard to understand that anxiety is still very um, it is very objective subjective, sorry. And
Yes.
and I see something here with it's unruly. Well, what you are seeing here in the latter, which is sorry, the A and B is already in the acts before as it relates to computer misuse. So that's the obvious. All countries really would want to encourage that. But
Mm-hmm.
where I think they're trying to do is almost like you said something earlier in your last two programs. I think it was so it was so prophetic that you said you probably did it and you wouldn't even realize you held one hand up as the
Mm-hmm.
focus and the other hand really is the one that was keeping the person busy. But so what this bill is trying to focus on just the two words or three, but no, the issue is the austerity of the whole thing. You
Yes.
know, nothing. The austerity hasn't. That's why you don't have to get so sophisticated. All laws have a spirit to it, and the spirit to the law is austere and dictatorship. It would mean okay, so you're going to mean that everybody know when they're going to say is almost like you're going to be walking on eggshells. You're going to be so constipated around the place that you wouldn't even know how to say anything. There are some people that are so like fickle, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be like sarcastic of anything. Say there are some people that uh, don't care what you say offends them, and
Yes.
whether it's the truth, it is lies or whatever the case is. Well, obviously, something that's offensive and malicious would offend any person, but
Mm-hmm.
it is still too vague, and
Mm-hmm.
it would have to be in the region of malicious, in that
Yeah.
it was intent to hurt. You're saying something. I didn't want to stop you.
No, no, not at all. I'm
Oh,
listening to you.
it would have to be in a situation where, for example, when there are sensitive matters and you're saying something that you know that would more or less not only upset the person but is disastrous to the person's um, well-being, whether it be mentally or otherwise, or their career or whatever the case is. I could understand something like that, but how would the public how would the public be able to function on a day-to-day basis? And such, why is that severity not given to larceny? Why is
Mm.
that why is that severity not given to like basic petty thefts? Why is it is that severity to the expression of self? Because you must understand, like, and I repeat this, and I have no what's the word, an apology for saying it. There are certain countries that um that thrive. They actually thrive on the suppression of expression,
Yes.
and in their legislature, you it's like it's not becoming for you to do that. You know,
Yes.
it is so much so that when people like that move to countries where the expression is allowed, sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
still don't even know that they can be expressive. So um I really I I I really don't understand how Bajans could sit down, whether it's BD, NDP, and believe that they are going to have a look. You don't even have a constitution up here as yet,
Well,
and
a Republican constitution, because we're being governed by the constitution that we had before. They made some
right,
changes, but we
right.
don't
But
have
I'm
a
trying to
Republican constitution.
right. That's what I'm trying to say. In other words, you don't have a new Republican constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking you're trying to go into such now with even more grotesque and uh, austere. You know, we came from one set of crazy, things that really needed to be not necessarily repealed but amended, and now
Yes.
you're going to go from a state of unclearness now to even darker waters. No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's not utilitarian. It's not in the best interest of all. In other words,
Yes. I like what you said, that the spirit of the law, this the spirit of the law, that is what, because I mean, here it is that we complained about it. They said that they're going to listen and they're going to have this committee, the Joint Select Committee, and they are going to look at the concerns. They came back to the people, and Marsha Cattle says that we're going to consider changing and removing some of the words that we are concerned about. And I mean, they did take some. of the word. They took out some of the words, but they left some in that would is so, it's still so vague, it's still so broad. And then on top of that, to increase the penalty. And the question is really, as you were saying, Mr. Millington, is what are Barbadians going to do? This has happened. Are we going to say, well, it doesn't really affect me? And I think there's a video I which Dave, if he sees it in his WhatsApp, where there's a video with this man explaining about the chicken, something about a chicken and a snake and etc. It's this story, but I would love for him to show it, because sometimes we think, oh, don't worry about that. That doesn't affect me. But later it's a problem. So do you think, what would you say to Barbadians about this bill?
Well, I'm not going to tell them do as 1937 did, but what I could tell them straight off is that any nation that is not comfortable, and you have to be on eggshells like that, it is not healthy for the country altogether. And it just either repeal it, and let not only democracy reign, but stop it altogether, because which I have a strong feeling that there's an external body or a collaboration of bodies. It may not necessarily be one person or one entity, but it may be a collection of entities behind, because I don't think that we are speaking to only things Barbados. I am of the opinion that we are speaking to things external who have set up and use a proxy of persons internal. I always call it kindred political allies to enforce what external ideologies that be. It's almost like bullyism. I don't know if you know how bullyism works from children. From a
Yes.
child, like some people, let's say your father or mother is a person of power, and somebody, oh, I can tell my daddy on you. I can tell me. So you carry that kind of behavior right to public life, into thing life. And now, but it's gone on a higher, I would call it a more higher gangsterism way. So you have not only local, but you have global, extremely and unthinkably wealthy allies who can exact your desires and to ensure that whatever you want is never questioned, and that whoever questions that, you would either imprison them or in terms of unalive them, in inverted commas, as the new word that is around the place, unalive, right? So because people don't understand that death isn't necessarily physical death. But if you can't function in your work, if you can't function in your community, if you can't function in church, if you can't function in your mosque, if you can't function in your synagogue, if you can't function, whether you're agnostic or whatever the case is, you can't function. So if the country can't function, it's not a country.
Yeah.
It's not. If the tractor can't function, it can't plow.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Millington. Before we play this video, I was watching, and actually, I wonder if Dave has that. We could show that before the video. I was listening, and I heard Mr. Thorne mention something. He said, "Why would you need 3 persons? Why would you need to fly 3 persons, 3 politicians to China to report that we are now, that yes, we are with China, we are supportive, and we are, I forgot, the initiative that we're saying that we are signed on to with China. Why would we need 3 persons to go?" And I want to remind Barbadians who those 3 politicians were. One was Edmund Hinkson, and Edmund Hinkson, for those of you who don't remember, he was the chairperson of the Joint Select Committee on the cybercrime bill. You remember that? Edmund Hinkson. Yes, he was a chairperson. Think about it. Senator Nichols, Gregory Nichols, he was a member, right? He was a member of the Joint Select Committee on the cybercrime bill. You also had Peter Phillips, and he is the chairman of committees. Think about it, the possibility. And I started to think about when you shared that with me. Yes.
You wanted me to
Barbados
say it?
reaffirms one China policy of global reform.
Yeah, but you
Okay,
see, okay,
at the global forum. Sorry, the one
right.
China policy. Barbados reaffirms, and they sent those three of them there. Why? I want Barbadians to think. Put your thinking cap on. We don't know why, but I want us to think. But go ahead, put your theory over, Mr. Millington.
Okay, it is as simple as this, and if I could stand corrected if I'm wrong, but this is just my interpretation. Barbados, before it became a republic, had many forms of to put it in layman terms, just bowing or constitutional respect as it relates to England. And when it comes to strong legislature or strong lawmaking, the entity that is stronger usually submits. Sorry, the entity that is
Weaker.
not necessarily weaker, but well, I would call it that. The entity that is the child of the superior one usually
Mhm,
has to affirm, and then there's something called reaffirm.
mhm,
But after the affirming or affirmation and reforming,
mhm.
the child that is birthed now is the policy.
Yes.
So it doesn't take a lot of Socratic deduction to understand that. So then after the meeting and after the reaffirming of whatever, you look at the substance. You look at what is the result. What is the product? And if the
Mhm,
product, that's why I made it very very simple that even a little child, I always make sport. See the littlest child of just the littlest child can understand. Then the spirit of what is going to come has to bear resemblance from who is. It's like, okay, your mother and father. Who you look like more, your mother or your father?
um both. But
Right. So
more like I think more my father.
right. So essentially, I'm just making a joke, but you are not going to look like somebody from Egypt or somebody. I'm not saying you wouldn't, but you're not going to look like some person from Japan. You see what I mean?
Right,
So,
yeah.
but in this what we're talking about symbolically, the child or the birth, what has been birthed, would have to come from the conception of the ideological formation. So
Yes.
essentially, that's what is happening, and what Barbados has to ask themselves is: was the country consulted on this conceptualization? Is almost like is almost like a child was conceived in.
Mhm,
That was Barbados, was the public, in other words, the voters, in other words, the people in the countries and in the country and the town, were they made aware that this is the direction that the country is going in now, and were they even briefed on such a thing? So it's like,
mhm,
is it like one day you're going to wake up and hear, oh, we're a republic, next day we're
mhm,
going to wake up and hear X and Y? No, it doesn't. You can't. That's why the late Prime Minister Arthur used, because I was from a child, even in secondary school, I used to listen to him very well, and there were some times that I overheard his disappointment in things that were done, technically speaking, unknown to him. And from
mhm,
that, and from those days, I used to monitor such things, and I used to say, well, maybe he was just miserable. But as I
mhm,
got older, you begin to understand that those mediations or whatever he was speaking of, and research could tell that I'm not speaking folly, was is almost like a menacing situation of privilege that
yes.
literally that literally went against or before his knowledge. So that trend carried itself on in this, what you're seeing here now, is the result of such. But
Mhm,
what really is concerning for Barbados is that this child or this baby, does Barbados want this baby? You have to ask that question. Does Barbados want this child? Is this the child that, is this the, I don't know, is this the birthing that the country went into to agreement for or with.
Oh yeah, and the fact that, I mean, very well said, and the fact that they had this there, they wanted to pass it, when it went to the upper house. I made a mistake earlier. Thank you for correcting me. They wanted to pass it in the Senate, in the upper house, and it turns out, well, because we made some noise, went to joint select committee, they had it there for all this time. But look at when it was, when we heard from Mr. Hinkson when he came back from China.
But that was suggest the sanctioning of power. You must understand that it's like a child. It's like if you wanted to go, like how a child would you think as a child you could just go to shop whenever and however? Would you not have to get permission from your mother or father, or you could you just do, say you could just go to to X and Y party without their permission?
Yeah, I mean, it's we don't know. We can only ask, because we've been waiting. I mean, our team, we've been waiting to hear what it is that they've accepted. What are the suggestions? What did they come up with? And they say, oh, it's a majority. Well, we only had two persons there. Everybody else was from the government. So
Right.
it's going to be majority if it's over 70%.
Of course.
That's what they're going to say. It's a majority. Mr. Thorne was there, and so was Senator Ryan
Walters?
Walters.
Mhm.
Okay, but everybody else was for the government. So this is why I say to people that it is so important. You cannot leave everything up to those that are in the parliament. But we have to continue to do that agitation. So when they say, that there has been, majority, the majority, they just need 70% of it to be majority. And they know
No.
very well why they put it that way. But I can tell you that's not something that Mr. Thorne voted on, and nor Senator
Walters.
Ryan Walters. And even when Senator Watson was there, if she was part of that, Senator Watson would never have voted for that. So when they say that majority, they're saying it's over 70%.
Well, you could imagine that the situation is one where you can take advantage of it, So, but what you have to really, at the end of the day, what you have to ask is are the people of Barbados comfortable that within the next, if something like this was to get its way, Barbados is almost like you're going to enter into another form of slavery for the next 1 to 2 to even 300 years, because something like this, you really can't. There's no turning back from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no. So what are you going to do to those? I could even perceive mass incarceration,
Yeah,
because if it was going to be, if it is to be kept to the letter and not just willy nilly done, because and you're not going to tell me, we didn't mean it, as to put in Belgian term. We didn't mean it like that. Well, how you cannot mean something and put it in writing? You can't. It has to be. You either mean it,
exactly.
or it is it Belgians. Is the whole bit little children behave a betcha? There's not a betcha stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A betcha you do this. A betcha. This is when it gets to law and it gets to the specificity of wording and stuff like that. It has to be what it is. So, and if it is what it is, you are looking at mass incarceration, and if not mass incarceration, who the cat don't like will be in jail, and he would not lick. So,
Yes.
so you would have a situation where lick and lockup will be back again, and Barbados will never be the same again. It would
Mm-hmm.
never be the same. Never be the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, but I the more I think about this thing with China, and I'm so glad that the leader of the opposition raised it. And this is why I'm saying, and I will keep saying that, because part of this show is to educate, and what we want to do is to keep reminding us of what is the role of the leader of the opposition. We need somebody in there. We need someone in there, and he raised that issue at the press conference. Why would you need three members of parliament? Why would you need three? Why would you need three of them, three politicians, to travel to go to China to say that, you know what, we are reaffirming the one China policy. Why?
And unless it could be many things. It could be two things, like, or two or three things that come to my mind really fast. The number could be symbolic. I mean, people don't think about mysticism, but it could be that. Then there's the other reason that it could be that they are each signing on to things separately that we the public aren't fully aware of. And then the third could be a vouching of certain measures that they have to be trained in to do whatever, who knows, because
AKA the cybercrime bill. Is it that?
yeah,
Is it connected to the trip? Because the announcement. Remember, I described to the viewers who these politicians were. You
and
have
the
the
role they
head.
play.
He was the chairman of the Joint Select Committee on the Cybercrime Bill. We had been waiting to hear what the suggestions that were adopted. And it's after he comes back and they announce that they have reaffirmed the one China policy. Then now in the next breath, the next couple of days, we see this in the newspaper.
I want to ask a question. Are the branches, whether B or D, are the branches of the people kept abreast of this? Are the people in the branches in the communities aware of what kind of Barbados will be put into place just by the flick of some person's pen? Or are they
Not
just
at all.
focusing on facts and who somebody, I mean, I don't want to cause any strife, but I mean, I'm not in Barbados and I see things online and stuff. Somebody's stove and somebody being shut outside and this and that and the third. You think that all that matters? You think all that matters when our children and our grandchildren or whoever it be would can't even sneeze too hard without it being policed? So I don't know. And there's some people that they don't even want to talk to you because they feel if they talk to you now, they will be like committing the biggest treason or something like that. A country cannot function. I don't care if it's BD, NDP under such austere on measures. You are looking to put, is Barbados going from one what's the I'm trying to find one what they do with lab rats. In other words, with one little project to the next, because Barbados has came through like years as a project. Because I call that a project. What Barbados went through pre-independence was a project. We may not want to call it that because it may sound too harsh to do that, but it really was a project. When you can have people working from sunrise to sunset, some to the death and stuff, that can't be. That's not life. That was not living. So
Mhm.
we went from one project now. We had a breath of fresh air in the independence period, and now up comes a republic status without even a referendum. And now we would think that we have self autonomy now on to phase two of another project. It's
Yeah,
almost like you run from
yeah.
the frying pan into the fire.
Into the fire because we don't even know what kind what the Republican Constitution is going to be like. And it seems like this prime minister is going and this government is going into election gear. I was told that they invited all these church leaders
But doesn't it?
to Sherburne Conference Center. Again, that's their base. The church is their base. That's where they get their people from. And so here it is again. We see our church leaders are being, I don't know if they
Course.
wine and dine them. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to, let me not say that part because I don't know if that was involved. But the point is that they went there and because they're getting ready to do, they're getting into election mode. And so
Yeah.
that's their base. Their base. They could go in and they put on a cross and all of that and fool all of us. And people forget that they're hungry and all these things that we are going through. And you could take up, how expensive it is to fly people to China. And I'm sure, I'm almost sure they didn't fly economy. Somebody will have to prove that to me, right? I don't know, but prove it to me that they didn't fly economy to come back to tell us that what we're reaffirming that we are agreement with China with the one China policy. Really,
Can I say some-
what
can I
what
say
what is
something?
that? What is that really all about? Yeah.
What really concerns me too, I understand Barbados and there's nothing wrong with wanting republic or a republic stance or coming away from England, because I mean, America did it too. But I don't think that Barbados or Barbadians felt that what republic meant for them would be to move from things England to go to something else that is not in their epistemology, is not in their ancestors' epistemology either, because it would literally be a conditioned form of a reintegration of slavery. I think that we have to take this thing beyond BLP and DLP and NDP and all sorts of P's and this and that and the third. We have to. It has to be a situation where we have to ask ourselves who we are as a people. Is this what we want? Not for 10 years, for 20 years, for the next 100, 200 years, way after our time, because our time is short. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. I mean, we have to ask, is this the Barbados that we want for our children or our children's children, that you can't sneeze too hard or not into jail, $100,000. There you go, and then how much is it? 100,000 in 10 years, is it? No?
10 years, yeah, 100,000
Yeah.
and
So,
or 10 years, and it's really something. I think that this is a time for Barbadians to rise up and assert yourself. We need to assert ourselves, and we need to let them know absolutely not. And we need to let them know in no uncertain terms. Okay, go ahead. You want to pass it, right? You want to pass it? Go ahead and pass it. And we are going to ensure that we vote you out. We need to make sure that that is a message that we are sending. We will vote them out. We will vote them out. I know they're listening. I know they're listening. They come on here and they listen. They need to understand. Go ahead. And this is what we're going to advocate for. Go ahead. You want to pass it? All right. We dare you to pass it. Tell this BLP government, go ahead, BLP government, and pass it. We dare you. Go ahead and pass it and call the election. Go ahead. Go ahead. And I'm daring you that you will find yourself on the outside. The people will vote you out. That's what is going to happen. But Dave had a little video. I want us to look at the video before our next guest comes on. And and we're going to have a little discussion of it. Dave, can you play that video? Thank you so much. So grateful for Dave and the support. We do this together, and it's great to have him there as our support. We're going to ask everybody to share. Make sure you're sharing. Right? Make sure you're sharing. And yeah, that's right. Everybody, write in there. Vote them out. Keep writing it in there. A hashtag, put the hashtag vote them, TEHM, out. Vote them out. Vote them out. Put it there. Put it there. Yes, we're not joking with them. We're not joking. All right, Dave, play. Go ahead and play, and then we'll discuss this, Mr. Millington, before you go.
There was a mouse on a farm once, and the mouse realized that the farmer had set a mouse trap. And so the mouse started going around and telling everybody, y'all got to help me get rid of this trap. Y'all got to help me get rid of this trap. And so the mouse went over to the chicken and said, hey, they set a mouse trap. The chick said, man, I love you, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not a chicken trap. He left the chicken and went over to the pig. He said, man, you got to help me get rid of this trap, because they said a mouse trap. They trying to get me, dog. And the pig said, I love you, man, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not a pig trap. Then he went over to his friend, the cow, and he said, hey, man, y'all got to help me. There's a mouse trap in this house, and if we get together, y'all can help me get rid of this. The cow said, you know I love you. I got your back, but it ain't a cow trap. Well, one night, a venomous snake got caught. Tail got caught in the trap. The farmer's wife walked in the kitchen, did not know that a venomous snake's tail had gotten caught in the mouse trap. The venomous snake bit the wife. She became deathly ill. Well, when someone gets ill, what's the first thing you have to make? Chicken soup. And so the chicken was pulled from the farm and chicken soup was made. The woman got worse, and church members and family members began to come by and visit early in the morning, and the farmer needed some bacon and needed some hot links. So guess what got pulled next? Mr. Pig got pulled. Then the woman ended up dying from her injuries. The venomous snake actually killed her. And it was a funeral, and they had to prepare for a repast, and there went the cow. The moral of the story is this: when one of us is threatened, we all are threatened. When one of us is going through, we all go through. When one of us weeps, we all ought to weep. When one of us rejoices, we all have to rejoice, because we're in this thing together. You ought to thank God for your community.
I want to jump on it really, really fast. You there?
Yes, go right ahead.
Whether the religious situation is true or mythical, which I doubt is mythical, because the type of heinous punishments that were done to make the Barbadian psyche the way it is. Can you imagine Tom or James giving trouble? You feel bad, as the Bajans would say, you feel bad, and tie the person by limb to a horse. Just get the horse a little tap, and the whole village or the whole town watch James or Jim, whatever you want to call him, being pulled apart by a horse. You hear the women wailing and everybody screaming, and then Barbados went through. If that was so, having gone through that kind of environment for a lot of, for a considerable time, however long it was, it can be just 2 days. The psyche of the whole Barbadian, because I studied this. There's a word I not effort. It's something to do with the DNA, but I can't. The words don't come into my mind. But
Okay, right. We have 2 more minutes in this segment,
right,
so we're yeah.
very short. So what I'm trying to say is that the Bajan psyche is one where those amount of years of torture has made the average Barbadian very, very fearful, and for that, nobody will stand up for each other until it is really, 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 really bad.
Mm. Yeah, that is so sad, and that's really, I believe, what has happened. And you said it right. The years of torture, and all of that we went through, have made us a different kind of people than those that were able to fight back and had places to run to. And I've said that all the time on this program, Mr. Millington. It's just the geography that made people who were born in Jamaica a little different
Yeah.
than the people here. But we're the same people that came from on the ships, came here. It's the same people that came from the motherland. But our situation is different. And so, and that's why I totally understand where Barbadians are at. But the big question is, when are we going to truly say we are in this thing together?
When it gets
When are
really,
we
really,
going to
really
truly
bad.
say that? What's your final? Just so take a half a minute and give a final word to the people concerning the cybercrime bill in particular, and then we move on to the next segment, Mr.
I'll be
Millington.
very simple. We as a people in diaspora does not have to wait until it's extremely bad and you can hardly sneeze and walk or even say the alphabet aloud. We can do it now, or before it's too late.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
A
And
pleasure.
I know you won't be any stranger. Thank you so much.
All the best to you. Okay.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Mr. Abraham Millington speaking to us on the cybercrime bill. He's there in the diaspora and encouraging us to, to speak out and to fight this bill. Okay. Oh wow. I want to use this opportunity just before Mr. Knox comes on. Mr. John Knox is here with us. People have messaged me and they wanted him to come on tonight because they saw that more of our agricultural lands were, according to the newspaper, that they were now going to be building homes on these lands. And so the last time we were here, we talked a lot about Bannatyne. And later on in the program, Mr. James Paul is going to come on and give us an update on Bannatyne, actually, and talk about some of the other spaces, some of the other agricultural land that is now being converted and made into spaces to housing. And so we're going to look at that. And so I'm going to ask you to get ready, because when Mr. Knox comes on, we've got to get ready. He's going to tell us some things, and I'm ready with my book, and I'm ready to go. But I want to tell those in the UK, if you're watching me and you're from the UK, put a thumbs up for me. Put a thumbs up. If you're from the UK, put a thumbs up. Are you watching? You're from the UK. I know a lot of people from the UK, they watch in the, when we go to bed. I get up and sometimes the numbers double. They're watching. Later when they get up, when it's very, late at night for us, they're watching. But if you're watching from the UK, just know that, guess what? We are having, is that Belle Edwards? Belle Edwards, you are watching from the UK? Okay. Well, Belle and anybody else who's watching from the UK, we're going to have a version of the Marcia Week show for one evening only, October 21st. October 21st in Brixton. And I'm going to ask Dave to put the poster up on the screen. But we're going to have that happening. We're going to October 21st. I'm going to be in Brixton in London, and that is going to be quite interesting. And I'm going to be talking to some young people there in London, and our plan is to be able to send it to you guys, so you'll be able to see and join in the conversation. So that is the Marcia Week show, one night only in London, October 21st. Tell your family members, tell everybody to listen out for that and to come down and let us connect with each other. Let's meet everybody together right there in London. And that is on October 21st at 6 p.m. UK time. All right. So which will be about 11 o'clock Barbados. I'll give you some more information on that. But right about now, I have a very important gentleman, as important as Mr. Millington, but you've been calling for him to be on the program. And so I want to invite and welcome Mr. John Knox. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Marcia. How are you?
I am doing well. It's a pleasure to see you again this evening. Welcome to the Marcia Week show.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The last time you were here, you were showing us all kind of charts and all kinds of, you were just spitting out information. Tonight, what brings you to the Marcia Week show?
Well, you had raised the issue of agricultural land going out of agriculture and going into housing. Of course, once it goes to housing, it's gone.
Yes.
And that was supposed to be happening at Constant. I'm not familiar with the actual location or the fields and whatnot. So the best I can do is basically show you what the area looks like on maps and what the soil maps are saying about that area.
Yes. And while you look for that, the place, that particular place for you, is it known? Is it a place there in St. George that's known for agriculture in your estimation and based on your knowledge?
Yes, of course, it's known for agriculture. So if you were to look at what it looked like in 1951,
yes,
you can
let me put it up. So you're showing us this is what it looks like in 1951. Yes.
Yeah, so you can see the actual fields on the plantations, Valley, Constant, Buckley. So I understood from you, I believe, and also from looking at the paper, that Constant was supposed to be affected. So I know that was happened in these three, I would say, prime agricultural areas. And if you actually take off the 1951 layer and put on what it looks like now, a lot of it still is in agriculture.
Yes.
But here you can see the housing encroaching here in Constant. So I don't know exactly where the land is that has been acquired that got you to ask me to come on the show and talk about constant, but I understood it was a 16.9 acre lot, and it's going to be a field because if you look at constant, constant is all fields as left back. So if you were looking at constant fields and zooming in,
Mm-hmm.
and we could zoom in, you'd see that you'd see that this field here is actually 16.75 acres estimated.
Yes.
Don't know if this is I don't know if this is the land that they're interested in acquiring, but that's a garden. That's called garden field, and garden field really is on a plantation is a place where people from the from 17th and 18th century, maybe into the 19th century, are buried.
Yes.
Everybody is buried there, so not only slaves, Irish, Roman Catholics,
Mm-hmm.
Quakers, the whole gamut. So
It
long
was
as
a
you were not
burial
going,
ground.
it's a burying ground, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still used as a field for agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what has happened over time is all the fields would have been plowed, like from the 40s on, when you start to mechanize, the fields would have been plowed, and um, it depending on how deep the graves were, if they were there, I don't know if for sure if they're there. I think
Mm-hmm.
that if this is the land that the plan to acquire and change, they should really be looking to get some geophysics done, ground penetrating radar looking under the ground to see what is under there. Um, so that's if you look here, you will see that if you turn on the 1951 map, you will see that already. Let me see. You'll see already that well, this is St. George's Secondary School here. It was a cane field.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Lower Hatfield and Upper Hatfield.
Yeah.
So that's gone to the NHC. So if you look that
Wow.
there, that's see
So
that.
these two
So
are
I don't
gone
know if
already.
that's probably I don't know, probably 70s, 80s. No. Probably 80s, 90s probably that they went. Um, that caused a lot of commotion as well when the government acquired it. I think this is for NHC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot of commotion over that. So if you look, you'll see that most of the land is still in agriculture, but
Mm-hmm.
um, but the encroachment has happened. The same thing I was pointing out last time. If I look up here at this housing thing, outside of the plantation area, what you'll see is that in 1951. Let's see what happens in 1951, or what it was like in 1951. You can see that these are all small holders along here, along the road that comes up from
Yes.
Charles Road Bridge out to Lower State. Um, Probably you'll find this land is controlled by these two householders,
Mm-hmm.
maybe family. This land is probably these people. Um, so the individuals who control small pieces of land which allow them to m- grow food for their families and for other people in the area and outside,
Mm-hmm.
all that land really has disappeared now in housing, or most of it. So what's happening now is the pressure is to encroach on agricultural land. So let me turn off these fields. So
Okay.
here you see these fields are all in cultivation.
Yes.
Um, And now you see you have a school, you have
Yes.
housing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know where at, constant
Constant.
it that is supposed to be the land is supposed to be acquired for housing, but the best I can do is show you what is there now. Um, Up here at Buckley, most of this land here was what was called RAB land. So if you look
Mm-hmm.
at 1951, what you'll find is that this is mostly grassland here. So
Yes.
that wasn't in cultivation. So that's actually been taken out of we'll say out of the ownership of Buckley and sold to individuals. So each one of those individuals then becomes a land taxpayer. You can see out here that the plan to do some development.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, these maps are good to look at because you can actually see what is being planned, um, or
Ah.
what is, you see, like if you look at this here, you can see somebody plans to do a housing development there.
Yes. Right
Um,
there.
if you let me see if I can find any more like that. Bottles.
So those are roads that they've already
Perhaps
put
not,
in
but
because
they're
they
they're
plan to
set
do.
there
Yeah.
to build houses. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Before in 1951, what it was like, what it was like from the aerial photos then was a cane field, but now it's been left to run to left to be overgrown by bush, and now it looks as though it's to be developed into to housing. Let me see if I can zoom in some more and see what it looks like. It looks like to
Yes.
me, it looks like roads to me, very much like roads to me.
Right. It seems like roads
It
there.
looks like roads
That
here, all along here,
Ellerton
up in
Park.
Everton. Right. So right. So that was in 1951. That was a productive field in
Productive field.
agriculture.
And you know,
This
for
was
people
also a
who say,
productive field here.
yeah, it's interesting. You're saying it's a productive. It was a productive field in 1951 or up to that time, because sometimes people think that, oh, you know,
Yeah,
we can't do agriculture, but we have so much agricultural land that is just sitting there, and now they are deciding that they are
that's
going
right.
to take up the agricultural land and make it into housing. Yes, go ahead.
So even look at this field here. This field was productive, but if you look at what's actually happened between 1951 and now, it's been left to become overgrown with bush and trees and all that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
no, it won't be long before this guy is developed, and hey, we want to develop out here. Um, so and then when that's done, you have to end up going into the actual plantations and taking complete fields out of cultivation. That's how it works. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. But and the thing, as I said before, is we have a population that's supposed to be not growing. Why
Mm.
do we need all of these houses? Do we have enough water? All those issues arise. So I think, I mean, from the government's point of view, it's good
Yeah.
because the more the more houses are there, the more taxpayers are there. So you have to pay land tax. If you don't pay the land tax, you lose your land.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, that's the truth. So as you see, the land is in Constant and Buckley and Valley is really agricultural land, good agricultural land. There was a soil map that was done in '65, and you can see the type of soils shaded. These lines are actually talking about the slope, the topography of the land, more or less. But you can see that all of this land here is the same type of land.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually down in the bottom of the valley. The lowest part, this is Carmichael, Buckley. This is where the
Mm-hmm.
cable and wireless station is. So this area here, down in the bottom of the valley, is probably the, the best land, or is very very good land, deep soil and so on.
Where you said is good land for
I think
agriculture?
this
Show me. Oh,
this
that
is
section there.
I think this section would probably be good, would be better. I mean, all of it is good, very 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 good, but this may actually have a better. Uh, m- well, I don't know. You have to look at the individual fields and how they perform. So Colin Hudson back in 19
Hello, good
um,
evening. Can you hear me? Yeah, go ahead,
the
Mr. Knox.
1970s with some and actually got all the names of the fields.
Okay,
You
can
can
you
hear
hear
me?
him? Anybody's hearing? You can hear? I wasn't hearing Mr. Knox. Okay, go right ahead again, Mr. Knox. Probably it's
Okay, you
just the
can hear me.
Wi-Fi. Yes, I'm hearing now. Yes.
Okay, so Colin Hudson and UWA students working with him went and got the individual fields and allocated according to the soil map what the soil types were, what the dominant slopes were,
Uh-huh.
um, and ended up with a field list for each plantation that they did it on. So far for the island, um, I've basically mapped from the maps that he prepared. I've mapped about 3,500 fields. I have still a lot to go, but when you look at it, it's still a small fraction of the overall island. And I'll show you what I mean.
So you
It's
have
really a
mapped
small.
3,500 fields. You mean agricultural plots?
Right on plantations. If I
Okay.
were to actually look here, these are the fields I have mapped. This is about 3,500. In the Scotland district, there maybe not as many, but there's each every field that could be mapped at the time by Colin Hudson and his students was mapped. So that's what I have. Let me turn off this for a minute. No labels. Okay. So if I look at it now like this, oops, let me go back again. Let me go back again. Plus, right. This is what what they did was go to each field, see where it was
Yeah.
on the soil map,
Yeah.
and assign what the soil type was for each field, um,
And then
and the dominant
determine
slope.
if it, yeah, and then through finding the soil type, then determine if it was good agricultural land.
Well, what that would have allowed them to do would be to say, what is the sugar yield from say these particular fields compared with these particular fields. So they would have like a database. The factory would receive um, tonnages from the plantations, and they would know what field they came from. And once that was the case, then they could actually say, well, this field is doing really well, or this field is unlike all the other fields in this particular soil type area.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong here? What can we do to make that better? So that was the thinking I would imagine behind what the work that Colin Hudson did with
Yes.
his students.
Yes. Yeah.
But the objective is to improve output.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
that's not what's
Right.
happened.
And when was
Is
that done? When did
that was done
Hudson?
in that was done in the 1970s.
Uh-huh.
That was done in the 1970s. So if you go back into this area here, whoops, beg pardon, a little bit slow. So if you go back into the area in the St. George Valley that we were talking about here, oh shoot, still not right.
Yeah,
Anyway, never
something.
mind.
It's not.
You can actually see the individual fields. You can see the
Mhm.
individual fields.
Yes.
And it was done. They did it by plantation. So they know like what when the factory gets so many tons from this field or that field or that field, they know which plantation it's coming from and they know which field it's coming from. So they should be able to know what the yield per acre was for that particular field, and then compare it with other fields with the same soil type, and concentrate on trying to get all of them producing at the same level. So it was a pretty scientific project
Yeah.
that was done there.
In the
But
1970s. So, guys, I just to summarize, in the 1970s, under Professor Hudson, he and his students, they went and they did some kind of it was like a what you call an experiment on the soil and to determine the soil type in this agricultural land, and
no,
they found.
they didn't do the actual experimentation on the soil. That the actual soil type, the soil map, was done in the 60s, 1965 or so, by the
Ah,
Imperial, what is it? No, I think it's Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture. So that's the University of London. So they actually worked out what the soil types were in Barbados, and then I think Colin worked with them.
mhm.
Then in the 70s, he took their results and the aerial photos, and he basically assigned the assign the soil types to the individual fields so that
Okay.
plantation could know how much it was yielding. Obviously, all this area here that was small farmers. This soil type here is the same as the soil type in here as well. So whatever
Mhm.
was done to improve these could be done to improve all of these
I
as well.
see. Because the idea is
See?
to improve output. That is
Improve
what they
output.
wanted. What
Yeah,
have we
that's
used that have we used that information? Have we used, it's so
I
interesting, all of that was done for what?
for what? To build houses, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So do you hear follow what he's saying? Because I'm writing down the notes. This is all new to me. To understand what he's saying. So they did all of this in the 70s, and
Yeah.
with students at the university, and sent the soil to overseas, and determined how to improve the soil. Right, figure out the soil type, how to improve it. They have all that information, and guess what we're doing with it now? Building houses on it. We're building houses on it,
Yeah.
guys. And this is what we're saying. This is Barbados. Those of you in the diaspora, this is what's happening in Barbados. This is a facts that we are sharing with you here tonight. Continue, Mr. Knox.
Right. So you can see the housing that goes on here. If you come up a little bit higher and look at, let's say, let me see if I can get this right. I think this cottage. Let me see if I can get cottage. Um, Again, this is prime agricultural land
Mhm.
in St. George. So
St.
if you were
George.
to, right, so this is Applewitz in this area here. So this is Golden Ridge along here. So if you were to come over here and look at cottage plantation, this would be cottage plantation as it appeared in 1951. You can see all the fields as they are there. But if you look at it now, you know, a lot of those fields are gone. There's still some agriculture going on, but an awful lot of the fields are gone. You can't get them back now at all. So that's maybe 300 plus years of investment in the land gone in just, you know, a matter of years. It's sad, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the St. John Valley, that's pretty good still. So as you see, you have large areas of housing. If you were to go back to 1951 and look, oops, sorry, that's the soil map. If you were to go back to 1951 and look, you'll see that all of these areas, yes, they're small houses, yes, they're poor people, but they actually could grow food for themselves and for others. You
So
probably could get
how
yams
about
and so on really cheap,
Mr. Knox? Mr. Knox, as
plentiful,
you're,
plentiful, plentiful.
can I ask you to pause there and let's just do a comment here. Somebody says, well, we have a housing crisis. So it is important that we these lands be used for housing, because nobody's doing anything with them at the moment. So why don't we use it? Because we have a housing crisis in Barbados. What do you say to such persons?
I find it difficult to believe at this stage of our development that we could have a housing crisis. If you come into Christchurch, let me show you what's actually happening in Christchurch. Let me see. That is. It's difficult for me to to answer that, because there's so look at Six Crossroads. Okay, here's Six Crossroads. Right, this is what it looked like in 1951. Lots of smallholders, Sunbury and so on. Or is that Sunbury? Marshfield is here. I think Sunbury is not
Right.
here.
So somebody's saying there is a housing crisis.
So this is
People are
so
saying
you can
there's
see
a
the
housing
fields.
crisis. Okay.
Okay, let me show you what's happened with the housing crisis in that area.
Yeah.
There can't be a housing crisis with that level of development. There are just so many houses, and the population is not growing. In fact, what's happening now is that you're hearing that we need to bring in 80,000 people, because look at this, right? And look at what it looked like in 1951. There's no way that those people in this area, all this agricultural land, is gone. I mean, you cannot get back those fields; they're gone. So I find it difficult to accept that there is a housing crisis in Barbados. Look at this, right up into St. Philip. Look at 1951. Turn back on 1951, and you see all these little small little plots.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that if the population is not growing, and we have built so many houses, that's interesting.
Why are we building more? I think one of the reasons may be that they just want something to sell. They want to be able to have a lot. They want to be able to get the taxes collected, and they want to be able to sell. There are people employed, real estate agents and so on, to sell the land. So But the problem is there's just only so much land to sell. There's no, when it's gone, it's gone. So, I mean, that land is gone. It's still got agriculture going on in those. Like, look here, this is another development here that's in the works, it looks like. Where would that be? That would be, let me see. Turn on my, difficult to do it quickly. Anyway, you can actually look through and see all of this is again, I can't understand how we could have a housing crisis when we have this number of houses in the island. It's, you know, it just is beyond my comprehension. If you come into here, this is the airport, right? You come down here. This is Coverley. If you look back here, in 1951. Oops, not that one. Let's do this one. All those fields are gone. You can't get them back. They're gone.
Yes.
Forever and ever. When you come down into if you come down here into the ABC highway, look at this area, the walking area. If you turn off, if you look at the 1951 area, sorry, the 1951 aerial photos. This is what it looked like then. So you can see the fields are actually
Mr. Knox, so why are we, if I mean,
maybe not the best soil, but what happens now is what it looks like.
That's how it looks like. Look at
how many more houses do we need?
And the population is not growing.
How many more houses do we need? Right. So what is the sense?
People saying that there are people who can't get their houses rented. There are people who can't. Is it the price of the housing that is the problem?
Or is it the demand? There's nobody to rent it. So the price should really come down. But if the price comes down, there may still be nobody to rent it. To me, I just think it is very, very difficult to accept that we have a housing crisis. Very, very, very difficult. It doesn't make any sense. Look at that. It's amazing, huh? So look at it in 1951. And look at it now. See? I mean, we don't have any housing crisis. We have too many houses. The crisis is that there are too many houses and we don't have enough water for all the houses. So that's why some houses lose water supply for periods during the dry season, because there's not enough water to go around. We're not really planning this out at all. Here's Durance Golf Course. Look at the housing around it. Look at what it was like in 1951. I'm not saying that they should, none of this should have happened. What I'm saying is that too much has happened. It should have been better planned and thought out. It's like a mad scramble, a mad free-for-all to build houses. And I can understand the government, from the government's point of view, that means land tax and lots of it. But you know, there has to be some sort of limit, something that says, okay, enough is enough. If you come down here on the look down here on the this land down here, when he sent this is Graham Hall Swamp down here. This is Long Beach, so you can't build inside here. So, but look at this, and look at what it looked like in 1951. Oh shoot, I don't think I have these here. Let me see. No, I don't have the 1951s on this here. Sorry. But all of this land was slated for agricultural land. There's lots of water under here, and the water was supposed to be used to irrigate the land. But as you see, it's all gone into housing, or at least a lot of it has gone into housing. It's sad. It really is sad. This is
Yeah,
Gibbon's
yeah.
rate. So
Well,
it really is.
it's I like what you said. If the population, do you all follow what he's saying? If between 19 in the 1950s and when you look at what it is now, the number of houses that have been built, right? I mean, when you look, I mean, it actually changed the whole landscape completely, and then
Yeah.
we our population is not growing. So what is happening?
The whole
What?
landscape changes. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting thing to. What are your thoughts about it, guys? Those of you who are listening, do you, how can we need them to prove? They're saying there's a housing crisis. Is there really a housing crisis? And then he's saying, why isn't the price of the housing? Why is it so expensive? If we had, there's so many people that have a house, trying to rent their houses, that have houses locked up trying to rent. Some of them have gone to short-term rentals. What's going on? Wow, we're being tricked and fooled by false narratives. Very interesting. Very interesting. I see Mr. James Paul here. Let me bring him in. Mr. Knox. Good evening,
Okay.
Mr. Paul. Good evening, Mr. Paul. How are you? Oh, let me see. Okay. Good evening,
Yes,
Mr. Paul. There you are. How are you
yes,
doing?
I'm good. You could hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Yes, I was listening to Mr. Knox just now, and he made some valuable points that we all know
John,
all
John,
along.
John,
John,
John, J.
John, sorry, John, that we all know. Um, but let me just say, it just shows you
James.
really. Yes. Hello.
Yes, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Let him go ahead, Mr. Knox. Go right ahead.
Hello, I'm here.
Mr. Paul, go ahead.
Okay, no, it just shows you what has been happening all along, and the models of development that we have been picking up for this country really bears no relation to what our real needs are. It's amazing how we have a country planning department in this country. And I could think of many of the town planners that we have before, even Lenny Hill. And the way in which sort of it was felt that it was necessary to design barriers. But certainly the issue is that in whose interest is the country being designed? And are we really engaging responsibly in the development of the country to ensure that we are environmentally responsible in terms of how we are doing it, and that we are adequately providing for food security as most developed countries will require. It is interesting when you look at the maps and what has been happening, because again, always the justification for the conversion of use of agricultural land has always been, and in most cases, are the provision of housing and for commercial purposes.
Hmm.
But again, you said that one of the main things about this that we have observed for Barbados recently is the fact that the population is not growing.
Hmm.
But not only that, I keep on saying that you just have to take a look in the urban areas of this country and in Bridgetown itself.
Yes.
And when you go into places such as Trident House, you go into places just side of Cape Shepherd there, that building that is there, and many of the buildings that you would see, that there are a lot of empty office spaces in this country that are not occupied, not fully utilized. And yet, because of the fact that it serves the finances in this country to promote construction, because it's easy money,
Hmm.
that is where the money is going. Even in the whole area of where the money is going, once the money is prepared to say that that is where we want to go, that is where people will cater to. For instance, one of the challenges that we have when it comes to the agricultural sector, for instance, is the fact that financial institutions seem to find it difficult to finance, say, agricultural projects. And you tend to find that even, before, when you had, say, institutions such as the Barbados Development Bank, they had a special um, department inside there that was supposed to deal with agricultural loans. And that was necessary because you find that under normal commercial lending, it was agriculture was not seen as something that you should finance. And you had to actually find a way to mobilize sums of capital that would actually go into agriculture. But it shows you too that if we allow the normal financial institutions to make the decisions for us, as someone said in about Barbados one, that it will be every square foot of the landscape will be littered in housing because that is what basically they prefer. And this is the challenge that we face today, where how can we live up to the our ideal of trying to develop Barbados in a way that is environmentally balanced, that at the same time allows us to fulfill our objectives of food security, and without falling into the trap that is always being set, that there is something that the people bring to justify the things that we do. And when you subject it to deeper examination, you find that it does not really hold water. The whole thing, and I agree, the whole thing about whether or not we have adequate housing. You, one of the main things that we also have to admit, we are seeing now a situation in this country where people are living in massive homes in this country, and it is only one individual. These are the kind of things that we are seeing, and that is what we are financing. And then you having a lot of empty houses. So how long are we going to continue to do this? But what I think is terrible though is the fact that we continue to see new applications for housing developments in areas that are basically agricultural. And I hear the whole thing. Sometimes people making the point, "Oh, this is rock. This is the rock phase." But again, what we don't appreciate is that once you allow a residential or commercial investment in an agricultural area, it immediately begins to change the face of it, because then there are some agricultural activities that are necessary to be done, which are compromised. They cannot be done. Even for instance, when you talk about building a school in an agricultural area, that in itself could actually compromise agricultural activities in the proximity of the school. So it is these kind of things. And while other countries have held steadfast to the principle that once an area is an agricultural area,
Yes.
unless a very cogent and good case is made, it is actually turned down. On the other hand, we have a situation, and I must say this though, that the Ministry of Agriculture and a lot of the agencies that are
Yes.
responsible for managing the situation, they do try their best, even currently, to try to ensure that when an application comes before it and it does not meet the requirements as they see it, they turn it down. But sometimes you have a situation, and it has happened under all governments. None to take, none are blameless as far as that is concerned. It's where sometimes because of influences, because of who the persons are, that basically permission is given for some reason that it buckles the mind. You take for instance, when you talked about the development from the airport, where you have the housing coming down from the airport there, you have to ask yourself the question: are all of those houses occupied?
Mm.
Ask, drive through that place at night. Are all of those houses occupied? And then we have a situation now that is happening. For instance, you have at least in St. George alone, you have areas going in, housing applications going in. People are still in possession of these. And one of the points again I want to make is that if we have a landowner in this country who has agricultural land and he has difficulty in farming it, why can't we find a way to make it easier for that landowner to at least let persons who want to engage in agriculture access it. It is so pitiful sometimes when young people come into to the office sometimes who want to be engaged in agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And the main stumbling block that they have is that they do not have access to land.
Wow.
And in order to get access to that land, the cost of it is prohibitive. Why? Because of the fact that land that should be treated as agricultural land, right, is being treated in the same way as if you were to conduct a commercial enterprise, that the returns are much larger in a shorter space of time than you will find in agriculture. That is the basic problem. So that is why, therefore, a lot of agricultural land is out of reach of young people who will want to afford it. They don't want the state to come and give them anything, because that's the other thing that we have trapped ourselves with in this country, where in order to justify governments, in order to justify their purpose and to make themselves feel important, they like to see the people who are actually dispensing the largesse. And of course, that equates to votes. This is unfortunate, because that is not the reason why you should be voting for anybody, whoever it is, right? But what we want to see, what young people want, and what people in general want, not only young people, but everybody want to feel that, you know what, I can actually acquire land for a specific purpose, and that the price at which I am able to acquire that land will enable me to make some type of return on the investment I will be making in that particular activity, and that I will be able to conduct that activity in a manner that permits me to be able to at least make something from it legally, and without at the same time feeling that somebody will come and take it away from me, rob me, or steal it, and things like that. That is what people want. But what we have is a situation in this country where we make it relatively difficult for people both to get into agriculture because of the
Mm-hmm.
cost of it. And then even after getting into it, it is sometimes, yes, for some farmers, many farmers, it is a challenge, because when
Yes.
you have to trigger the threats, whether or not be predator larceny, whether or not be the monkeys, whether or not it be, the other thing in terms of labor, whatever it is, there are challenges. And I think that these are the hard things and the hard truths that we need to address. But I want to
Yes.
say, but going back to the question of land, I think let us be more rational in terms of the arguments that we are making and the things that we are claiming, how, or we need to get land out to create more housing opportunities for Barbadians. That is just not true, because in truth and in fact, Barbadians themselves have their adequate housing opportunities available from the existing land that has been taken out of agriculture, and in some cases, a lot of those areas are either not even occupied. All right, and for commercial,
Oh, so pause right there, Mr. Paul, because you are really you're corroborating a lot of what Mr. Knox is saying. So, because we're really kind of looking at this housing crisis in quotation that they're saying that we have. So you're saying that there are lands that already have been taken out of agriculture, which Mr. Knox has shown us, that are
yes,
not even fully used up as yet.
that is
um
correct.
that's what you're saying. So you're also saying you don't believe that there's really a housing crisis.
No, it's not real housing. It is a way in which people make money. That is what the banks will lend for, because first of all, you're putting down something on the earth that basically it has a value, okay? And people think, okay, no, that is a way of making money. That is what the banks will lend for. That is the direction
Hmm.
in which the money is going. It is not going in the areas which is really needed for Barbados. When you look at it, for instance, and that is something I think that government will need to look at in terms of productive sector loans. Why is it that if you want to engage in a productive sector activity, whether or not be agriculture, or whether or not be marketing, that it is so difficult to get financing? Many people who want to go into productive sector loans will tell you how difficult it is to get financing, and sometimes the financing arrangements are not even structured in a manner that is favorable to them. On the other hand, you want to buy housing? Cool. You want to buy a car? Cool. You want to buy some consumer durable? That is easy. That I think that is something that we need to look at in a very serious way in this country. In
Yeah.
that, how do we make it feasible and possible for us to achieve our development objectives of trying to develop those productive sectors which are actually going to earn the type of income that Barbados needs, okay, by encouraging the financial sector to support them more. And I just wanted, this also I just want to say lastly on this one. Today I heard about the gap between imports and exports in this country. We have
Before
this,
you go there, hold that thought, Mr. Paul. You
yes,
hold that thought. We're gonna because we have you here for a little bit. Hold that thought. I want to get back to Mr. Knox. Okay. Let's get back to Mr. Knox, but we're gonna come back to you. It says this person is saying, according to the green paper for housing, we should be looking at increasing our housing density and keeping our lands for feeding us. And the person's nib says, guess this is discarded. But Mr. Knox, you are showing us what Mr. Paul is telling us. Right. So I want to give you a chance to go back through your maps because people are actually seeing it. Because like me, seeing it when you showed 1950s and you show now, and you realize that well the population didn't increase, but we increased. So many houses were increased. How could we be in a housing crisis? Is there anything else that you want to show us from these maps, Mr. Knox?
Well, I took the time to just take a tour around the island and show the difference in the housing that exists today versus 1950. I'm not saying that 1950s it was the greatest or anything like that. What I'm saying is that there's just so much land available and there's just so much water available. So somebody has to call a halt to this. Somebody needs to call a halt. James was saying that when housing goes into agricultural areas, agriculture suffers. I remember as a boy, probably I was under 10, being taken to school through the pine. And you'd be going across the pine and the cows would be out and crossing from one field to another. So you had to wait. And of course, you started getting kittens because you thought you would be late. Um, but you had to wait behind the cows. You couldn't push through anyway. But the problem was the development at the pine was taking place, and it was pretty well advanced then. So you have all the houses up on the brow, overlooking the agricultural station, into which the
Yes.
government has poured lots of money. And guess what happens? They start complaining the stench from the cows, and so there are no cows there anymore. They're gone. The the agricultural station is gone, right? So it's to me that is the most glaring example of what housing development or what they call development does to agriculture. It takes over. Um, so that would be my contribution there.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Knox. Back to go ahead, Mr. Paul. You were talking about that deficit there. Go
yes,
ahead.
yes. I mean, we were looking at the fact that right now we import over $2.1 billion in goods. How much do we and the sad thing, how much do we export?
So we import. You're saying we import two point
Over
one
two
billion
billion
dollars
dollars. Yeah, over $2 billion in goods in this
in
country.
food
And but no, that's all that is just imports generally. two
imports.
billion
Okay.
dollars. Okay, we export how much? What? $500 million. Okay. Now, all I am saying is that when you look at the numbers, how does a country that imports so much exist, right, and exports so little? How does it do it? And of course, we wonder sometimes, why do we get trapped? This whole what we call the debt trap. How
Mm.
do we manage our way out of it if we do not export at the same time in order to earn a living? Because that's what it is about. It is true, for instance, that before, when we had the offshore companies and we were taxing them and we were earning taxation, that helps to bring in the foreign exchange because they have foreign exchange in them. Okay. And for instance, when at the height of, say, when we have tourism, you have a situation where the tourists come and they spend the money. But even now, the way in which international financial transactions are actually settled, your ability to benefit from tourism transactions in terms of getting hard foreign currency has actually been compromised, because in the days when the tourists were here, as people would say, you had a bump, what we call a
Yeah.
bump in the foreign exchange reserves at the bank. You used to see it immediately. So if it was, say, in November, just suppose they only had, just call a figure, $500 million in reserves. By January, you're seeing it crawling up to over a million, 1 billion, and increasing, because people are coming and bringing their money and spending. It does not happen that way today. So our ability to earn from tourism, okay, has been changed, has been compromised, because of the way in which foreign exchange transactions have been settled. So if we are not at the same time exporting hard goods that bring hard foreign currency back into this country, we will have problems, and we will continue to have problems as a country. And that is why it is so important that we, at least, in order to solve it, the only two ways is that you either engage in a radical program to try to increase your productive sectors so you can earn valuable foreign exchange, or you also, and complementary to that too, you should also have an aggressive program of what we call import substitution, where, for instance, those things that you can actually produce in this country that you do not import.
Yes.
And I've spoken to the fact that why you take a commodity such as pumpkins. I am sure, I don't know if you're an agriculturalist, Marcia, or if you plant anything, but I'm
I
sure all you
try.
have
I
need to
try.
grow
I
pumpkin.
try.
Yeah. So all you have to do is go outside and throw some pumpkin seeds in the backyard, and I am sure that, or you put it in a plant pot then, and I'm sure that you will get a pumpkin coming.
Yes.
Anybody can grow a pumpkin in this country. And as a matter of fact, we do grow pumpkins in this country, and it is therefore inconceivable. The reason why we proceed them to import things like pumpkins from our neighboring Caribbean countries, it is just inconceivable. And it is issues like these that we need to address, we need to deal with up front, and make those hard decisions that will ensure that we are sustainable as a country, in terms of, make that we are producing food for ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
If you
Mr. Knox, go ahead. Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Knox.
look at the image on the screen now. On the
Yes.
left hand side, you see the houses. On the right hand side, you see the agricultural land.
Yes.
Every year, first of all, how much foreign exchange was required to build one of those houses? The cement comes from overseas. Maybe the cement is made here, but is now being imported, I believe. The lumber comes from overseas. The galvanized comes from overseas. The windows probably come from overseas. The doors come from overseas. All the hardware, the locks and so on come from overseas. All of that has to be, all of that has to be paid for in foreign exchange. Now
Mm-hmm.
look at the land now that's in agriculture. What's the foreign exchange component there? Well, the chemicals, which are bad for us, we should really be doing without it. But the chemicals, for one thing, the
Mm-hmm.
fertilizers, the pesticides, the herbicides,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to pay for with foreign exchange.
Mm-hmm.
But what? Oh, the fuel for the tractors to cultivate the tractors are investment. You have to find the foreign exchange for that. But once you buy a tractor, it's going to work from. I know. For example,
20 years.
we have the D6 Caterpillar that worked when I was a little boy, and I'm now 68. It's still working. so so you know that's been depreciated out of existence. Um, the point is that to build those houses requires huge sums of foreign exchange. To grow food requires far less foreign exchange. So your imports right away are going to take, if you actually decide, look, we have enough housing now. If you were to stop building housing, you would probably save a fortune in foreign exchange. change. It might not be liked, but you know, where do we start? Put an end to? Do we put an end to converting all the land into the housing?
Yeah.
So that's my point.
Yeah. Let me just use this, and thank you, Mr. Knox. Let me use this time to ask you to call in. If this is a matter of concern for you, that our agricultural lands are being, used now, or they're changing the use of them to housing, and you're concerned about that. If you're concerned, also there's also a big concern. We're going to play that little clip coming up, Mr. We're going to play that, Mr. Knox. There is Mr. Paul. There is a senator, a former senator, who was on brass tacks today, and she was complaining about removing the BDF from that historic site. Is not just, it's like picking that up, and she's saying, where did the prime minister get the permission from? Who gave her the authority? Who gave the PM the authority to move the BDF to St. George? And I got something. Somebody said something here to me, and I actually sent it out to Mr. Knox. It said here, and we don't know, but I'm just going to read it. It's not coming from Mr. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm going to find it and read it while Dave just set up for me the comment that came in from Brass Tacks today. Thank you. Because I don't know. Yeah, it's saying here that a military source is stating that the BDF's new headquarters is going to be at Drax Hall. And they asked me to raise it with Mr. Knox to find out that the military source states that the BDF's new headquarters is to be at Drax Hall. It's a question, and they asked me to raise it with Mr. Knox. They feel Mr. Knox knows everything. But but think about that before you answer. Let's listen to this caller on Brass Tacks. Go ahead, Dave. Thank you.
Especially with the social media component, that we would have learned our lesson by now. If you thought that it was difficult in the past, it is even more so. And quite frankly, I think many people understand, or ought to understand, the kind of manipulation that takes place. It does not take place in Barbados alone. This is a worldwide approach to information, misinformation at times, disinformation. And listen, it does not matter who tells you a story. It is absolutely essential that you check to see what the other side of that particular story is. That is where we are. A lot has changed over the years. I don't think that we can look at the situation confronting us as a people and hold on to the past. And they constantly tell you that you have to be prepared for change. A part of the change that you have to be prepared for is that there are a lot of people who like to manipulate information and do their best to fool you into believing that what you see and what you hear is actually the truth. Be on your guard. Call us at 4341799.
Yeah, okay. So it seems like, I'm so sorry. It seems like we're playing the wrong clip. And that is what was sent to me. I am so sorry about that. But this is supposed to be the clip where the senator, the former senator, was speaking about, and some of you would have heard and sent it to me, but it seems to be the wrong clip. And my apologies to you on that. But Mr. What are your thoughts about this? They're moving the BDF to St. George.
That's to me.
I was asking Mr. Knox. He was the one on, and
Well,
then we'll go to
if
you.
you look
Yeah.
at, all right, so what you're saying is that you understand it's supposed to go to Drax Hall, or at least that's the
That is
rumor
what
from
sent
a
you. They, no,
military
they said
source.
they to ask you if you knew anything about that.
No, I know nothing about that, nothing at all. But here's Drax Hall. You can see the fields all around it. You can see the effects of the cars. Um, all of this, these are sinkholes and so on. So the fields are not very are not that they have a lot of topography in them. Let's put it that way. Each field has a name, as we know. You can pick up the fields like that. They have garden fields up there. I think the garden fields are here, about 18 acres. So these are probably burying grounds in here, Quaker burying grounds where everybody went. The burying grounds in that area. There are a lot of burying grounds around. So turn that on. The idea was that they want to. Drax Hall was 460 acres of land. I think it's 160 acres of land. Drax Hall sold to on the tenantries freehold purchases at, I think, at 10 cents a square foot. I may be wrong, but that was the number I remember being told by someone in the know. So it isn't to say
Yeah.
that benefited from the lands at Drax Hall. 160 acres is gone that way, and that it's mostly in the tenantries freehold purchase. So all this land would be agriculture, or they use it for agriculture, but definitely you can't make a point that Barbadians have not benefited from and benefited tremendously from the lands of Drax Hall, modern day
Yeah.
Barbadians. So that
Thank you.
just simply is not true.
Not true. But let me just, we have a caller on the line, Mr. Knox. Just hang on and let us hear the caller. Good night. Welcome
So,
to the Marcia Week Show.
Yes, good night, ma'am. And my name is Mark. And I want to say that we all got to keep on lifting up Mr. Rapton and his sports persons. April.
Okay, yes.
I hope that everything will come out good by God's will.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Are you going to come out to the solemn walk on Saturday at 10 o'clock?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Please wear white, wear a white shirt. And again, we're asking for donations. We do not have any company that is giving us any money on the show. We get our donations from the people of Barbados, just regular people like yourself, myself, and yourself. So we're asking you to bring a donation so we can pay for the police and we can pay for the sound and all that we need to pay for. Okay, because we don't have a company doing that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
God bless.
Good night, and God bless.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
we'll continue to pray for Mr. Thorne and for the spokespersons. Thanks for that call. Everybody, this is the number 246-236-7000. If you want to speak about the cybercrime bill or anything at all, the increase in crime, and or do you want to talk about what is happening in terms of the use of our agricultural lands, that they're going to be no use for houses, and we're being told that we need to look into whether or not is it really true that we have a housing crisis. That's a lot to think about. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Paul. You were saying something earlier about the BDF being moved to St. George.
No, actually, it's the first time I'm hearing about it, so I wasn't aware that such a move was being planned. All I know, again, when it comes to Jacksal, I would want to emphasize that it's agricultural land. And again, the agricultural footprint in our country is being reduced. And I think one of the things that even, and I suggested that already, even before we proceed in these directions, I really think that we need to do a real honest and critical analysis and ask ourselves, it, are we sure that we are not below what was originally recommended as the amount of lands that are required to have a sustainable agricultural sector? That is an issue that we should probably seek to try to address. I it's the decisions that are being made is beyond us. It is not within our powers to say. But certainly, I should think that we want our citizens and the persons on whose behalf that we are making those decisions to be part of it and to understand that we are doing it, knowing that, for instance, these type of decisions before when we that is why we have the town and country planning department. That is why we have the whole, we sign on to the whole question of the UN development goals, and the whole concept of sustainable development of a country, and being environmentally responsible. This was not done in isolation. You hear very often when you look again. I talk about groundwater reserves, and in many cases, you hear nowadays, every time you look around, you hear someplace they don't have enough water or things like that. When we develop the country in such a way that we do not allow the precious rain that falls on an annual basis to adequately get into the aquifers, and what we are doing is that by putting down concrete in so many areas of this country without, of course, the adequate drainage to allow it to get into the underground reserves, is that we are actually hastening surface runoff. That is why sometimes and you can see it happening right before your eyes, and I don't think people understand that, the loss of soil cover. So these are the issues, and I think every development, whether or not yes, the whole question of building an army base in St. George, whether or any new housing development, the fundamental thing, and I think that's beyond anything else, and it started even before this government. Okay, how do we ensure that we develop Barbados in an environmentally responsible way, that we do not create a situation where the very people that we claim to be building it for will have to run off because it is unsustainable for them to live on it? That's simple. That's simply what it is.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. And once again, letting people know that you can give us a call 246-236-7000. 246-236-7000. I don't know if Dave has found that clip. As yet, he can just let me know. Yeah, yeah. But it's I remember the first time that Kimar came on the show and showed us the number of places in Barbados that would be sold, or and he was actually the first person to tell us about the BDF being that area was going to be used for tourism. And to think, I mean, when you think of the history, of that particular area, and the fact that this is supposed to be, this is your defense force. Why would you put them inland? So inland. I mean, I don't know much about these kinds of things, but it's just seeming so weird to me, that is being done, but it's all in the name of tourism, a sector that is declining. I don't understand it.
Well,
One thing,
go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
one thing to make here is that how many hotels do we hear now are basically shutting down for the off season? and people are being sent on are being laid off basically. I think you can name a few. I think Sandals was one. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but it just seems to me. I think I heard Sam Lawrence was also doing it. Is tourism such a cure-all, or is it not? We depend on people coming to the island. If the price of oil gets really high, the cruise tourism is going to be affected. The airlines will be affected. So, I mean, obviously, we have to do something to make ourselves as self-sufficient as we can. But I don't know. Maybe that's too simplistic an approach.
Well, the other thing is that I think that we sometimes underestimate the valuable jobs that could be created in agriculture. Like for instance, I made reference to the fact was it a few weeks ago where I indicated that we have a shortage of what we will call large animal vets in this country. That is vets who are prepared to treat the large animals. And when I say large animals, I mean cows and pigs. Because somehow the vets that we are producing now, a lot of them choose to go into the what do we call it, the pet trade where that's where you make the money. But we also need vets that treat the large animals, the cows. And as a matter of fact, when you look and see the issues that we are having in our livestock sector, our food producing sector, it is because of the fact a lot of the support services that we need to help the farmers to do their work better, they are not readily available. So what ends up happening is that sometimes the farmers have to take decisions on their own that they would need, say, instead if they had professional advice on in terms of what to do. Even in terms of the supporting facilities. I mean, we've talked about the whole question of a laboratory, veterinary laboratory, that would actually be able to do the type of tests that are required that a modern livestock sector requires. I know that the government has decided that this lab will be built because we cannot rely on an overseas lab to respond efficiently to issues here as if it was based right here in Barbados. That is what we need, because when you look at a lot of the issues that farmers are dealing with, whether or not be virus infections, whether or not be issues with whatever's happening, if we had a lab right here in Barbados, for instance, that could give the type of diagnoses on the birds, provide the type of postmortems that are required, for instance, for the poultry industry, that even in terms of the pigs, that could do the type of postmortems that are required in the event of the death of the animals, and could give farmers back information in real time. That will help considerably in terms of improving the productivity in the sector in itself. It will increase efficiencies. This is what we require, even in terms, for instance, sometimes in our dairy sector, there are issues that impact on, say, the calving of animals. And doing the type of research, getting the support of the veterinary department and having a competent veterinary staff in place. Although, I mean, right now, I would say we have a very competent staff, because those people do quite a lot with limited resources, but they can do more. If, for instance, we had a laboratory that was well equipped and well geared to provide the type of services that will help them to give the type of advice to farmers that they actually need. So these are the things that as spin-off jobs can come. Now, so you're pushing people either jobs in the hotel sector, or you're pushing them, say, into the agricultural sector, because that is where we do there is a use. Maybe I don't know, the other people have to say that, are we over invested in the hotel sector? That's one of the things. And I'm not actually trying now to create jobs in the agricultural sector that they actually need, because there is, I believe, that there's a rational relationship between the hotel sector and the tourism
Mhm.
sector, because both can benefit from each other. The hotel sector, for instance, offers a market for the products of the agricultural sector And we can produce some very unique products in this country. All right. Our the taste profile for our foods that are produced locally, we can actually then increase the reason why a tourist will want to come to Barbados. Why? Because many tourists are now looking for different culinary experiences. Even those persons who have built the villas here, they want to know whether or not when they come to Barbados, there are any unique foods that they can experience that are local, right? That increases our attraction as a destination. But if there is nothing unique about Barbados, if there is nothing unique about some person that they can say, you know what, I went to Barbados and I had a real, genuine experience in which the food that I was consuming, okay, that basically it's different. This that is what that is what increases the attractiveness of Barbados as a destination, and it creates that type of symbiotic relationship that you want between your tourism sector and and the locals at the same time, because both then are benefiting. And also too, when you have that healthy relationship existing, it means then that you are not investing in either sector. And I think that that is something that seriously that we need to look at. How do we develop policies that help that type of situation to take place, and how do we achieve it in the longer term? And that's the other thing. We tend to think too much in Barbados. When we speak, when we talk about the term, we always think in a 5-year term. And I really believe that there are some policies that we need to move to, that does not only speak to a political term of a political party or government, that basically that what we mean is that we are talking about the long-term commitment of resources to the sector that allows it to work over a longer period of time. I don't think sometimes when I see young people, for instance, getting involved in agriculture, I don't think that sometimes we appreciate the fact that it takes a long time to achieve the type of returns that you need in agriculture. It does, because
Yeah.
there's a learning period that we don't take into consideration, and you know, after that you do get it. But the point is, you have to be prepared and be committed to invest in the long term.
Yes. Um, Someone is saying here that Kimar on this show, I remember very early up that he brought to light that is that we will be boxed in the island and no more beat of access, that we're going to be moved to inland and they are going to use up all of the coastal areas will be sold. Even all the way to East Coast. He showed us in a document a while back, and all of that is coming to pass. The question is though, Barbadians, is this something that we are going to sit down and allow to happen? It's really simple. We could stay on this call and we can talk and we can talk. The question is, are we going to sit back and allow this to happen? Let's hear this senator. Um let me give you her name. I believe I have her name here. She's former BLP Senator Adele Lynch, who was a senator under Tom Adams, and she's actually 85 years old. So this is Adele Lynch, a former BLP senator who was a senator under Tom Adams, and this is her. Okay, go ahead, Dave. Let's hope we get the
Yeah,
right
enough
thing.
time to talk about what you really come to talk about. I think you've made your point.
Right.
You've
Anyhow,
made
I
your
want
point.
to talk about the defense. I want to know with whose permission the prime minister of this country is removing the people from the garrison and so on. Who has she consulted? And what power does she have to change something?
Why you ask that? Well, I think it is clear that if she wants to move it, she will move it.
Oh yes,
She's
that
the
is
other.
not so in Barbados,
Why
not
does she
so
have
in
to
Barbados.
consult?
Not as long as this 85-year-old woman can shout and scream and walk a little and talk a little bit. That is nonsense. That is carrying power too far. The garrison has been there for years. Barbados has never gone to another what do you call it? Nobody else has ever ruled Barbados. And if you are going to underestimate the intelligence of Errol Walton Barrow, of Sir Grantley Adams, and all these other people who put the things where they know they are needed, she will have to talk to me. Olga Adele Lynch, born the 28th of May 1939, will not.
Former senator.
Man, don't mind that. I am born there. That's only a baby. But the whole point is, that I'm giving you what I really was. Born the 28th of May 1939. And just before the war, and I remember when I was a little girl, going to the sea and seeing the Zeppelins and all the planes flying low around the sea coast and so on. But nobody didn't conquer us. And I am very sorry. Don't let your power get the better of you, because Mayor Amar Motley, you will have to challenge, you will have to speak to Olga Lynch about it. This is not your country, and you cannot choose where and how our defenses should be deployed. It must not happen. It must not happen.
Well, I think the more significant question is whether the government has actually laid out clearly to the public of Barbados why it considers this to be necessary. I know
the government
that
will
one
not allow anything because it is not necessary. But she is allowing all the flattery that she is getting from all the people all around the place to make a fool of people in Barbados. Barbados, that is our garrison. Errol Walton Barrow was a we call him an Air Force thing and this sort of stuff. These people had experiences with the thing. They never moved it. So Grantley and those put the headquarters of the government up there by Bay Street. I know something that I discovered once.
All right, but let's recognize. Just hold on a minute, please. Just hold on a minute. She's a prime minister and she's got a cabinet that she runs. And if she decides that and they decide that that's what they're doing, I don't know that you're going to be able to. You can say, yes, you will protest, you will speak. But at the end of the day, they will tell you what they've told us ever since. They were chosen to govern, and govern they will. The rationale which was given for it, because I look back here
okay,
when this
Dave,
was
take a
made,
pause, please.
known.
Dave,
And the
pause,
Prime
please.
Minister
Thanks. Listen, I'm here listening to this. She is 80. What did I say before? Oh my, what's the age? I missed my space. 87? No.
I believe you said 87.
Right. She's more than okay. She was born in 1939. Okay, and I have it here. And it seemed like I missed my spot.
85.
She's 85. Thank you very much. Okay. So yeah, she's 85 years old. 85 years old. And viewers sent this to me. I want to thank you all for always keeping me informed. And I'm trying to reach Miss Adele. I did try to call the number that I got for her, and as I listen to her, Mr. Knox and Mr. Paul, I hear that passion. And I said to let me ask you, she's 85 years old, and she's saying that not over her 85-year-old body, as long as she can move and she's alive. Barbados, listen to her, 85 years old.
You know,
How many of you with grandma? If you're with If you are with grandma, give a thumbs up. Anybody in this comment section with grandma, and if grandma is ready to go and lay down at the garrison and say, you cannot remove the garrison. You can't move the BDF. How many of you were willing to go and lay down with grandma there? Give me you're right, Vihoy. I'm so hurt listening to this woman. She's a former senator under the same BLP, and she's saying, no, that's not how it's done. But this prime minister, I'm coming back to you, gentlemen. I just want to remind these people of what this prime minister has done. She's made herself over, right? The planning and development ministry. The board reports to the prime minister. That's what she has set up. Power has gone to her head and has made her mad. She is mad with power. And this
was speaking to members of the media about tourism question
that
is
this 85-year-old woman is saying what?
yes.
What is the woman saying? She is saying no. If are you going to agree with this 85-year-old woman? Are you going to be one of those that sit down and say, I'm not getting involved because I don't know, I am afraid of Mia and I don't want Mia will do to me and all of that?
I'd be interested in knowing where I'd be interested in knowing where it's going. And that might solve the problem for everybody because it may not be feasible.
You know, John, look, I think in this whole thing, I think what is sad though, and I when I hear the comments though of the moderator, that is what concerns me. That in a country where we have always encouraged free discussion on issues, where I believe people are given the opportunity to be participate and let us come to common decisions that we think will be to the benefit of it. It seems as if we have a moderator class now that it seems to be hearkening or beckoning to officialdom. They're not seeking to try to see, okay, what is the opinion of the public? Is there a better view? And to say to me, well, for what are you listen to the discussion, listen to it there? It seems as if he was saying, oh, well, the decisions are already made. If the prime minister makes it, that's it. If the cabinet makes it, that's it. But I mean, we have a tradition of governance in this country where basically major decisions like that people are involved in, and I don't want to think that for even for our democracy, that you'll want to find out, give active debate to this to see whether or not is this the best decision, because this decision cannot be just left to say whether it is a prime ministerial decision or a cabinet decision. In other words, we're not running a dictatorship, and I really think that is my disappointment in this country today. We're persons who should be before, under previous governments, you could hear them talking all over the Facebook, this and that. I remember the days when I don't know if you all remember. I don't know, Marcia, here the windows to the sea debate that we used to have, and where even to build a hotel on the coast, it was a subject of discussion there, and people had their views. Where you had a very vigorous national trust. This is what because at the end of the day, you arrive at decisions that Barbadians themselves are comfortable with, and we can understand the rationale for it. But what I'm concerned about, and I don't blame government for this, I blame the fact that now we seem to have persons in this country who the only thing that they can think of, what can I say that will make me get into the good graces of government to get something that I want or to make me look good. That is the problem that we have, that we don't have the level of honesty in debates that we need to have. That vigorous debate. We don't seem to have that ability, or feel that we have the ability to disagree with each other in common debate, so that we and still remain friends, and still think that at the end of it, we are trying to build a better Barbados. And that is my concern when I listen to the moderator and his response to the lady. I am saying that I'm very disappointed in the moderator, that is the type of response that he could find, rather than saying, okay, that is your view. Let us try to see, okay, and something like that that is so traumatic. Where you're talking about, the Garrison Savannah has a lot of history to it. I don't think people appreciate the fact that it does have a lot of history to it. And something as traumatic as that certainly is something that you Barbados will want to discuss and feel that that is something that we want to be a part of. So of course encourage that. But you try immediately to shut down the argument by saying, oh, well, that is not you, that is above your pay grade, or that is not in your matters. You don't
Well,
have any.
I'm wondering when I listened to him, if I was wondering if he was being sarcastic. Does
Maybe,
Mr. Ellis really mean this, or he is saying that so that the people can then determine, is this really what we want to happen in Barbados? That
mhm,
these 29 persons are going to sit and make decisions for
mhm.
all of us.
Well,
It could it be sarcasm? I don't know.
well, Marcia, I'm hearing too many
30.
people with that kind. Well, you say, but I'm hearing too many people with that kind of talk. I mean, I listen a lot to the calling shows, and you get into other places. You're hearing too many people with that type of view that seem to suggest, well, okay, let's see what they want, and our job is to give it. And that to my mind is unfortunate. And I will say this to you, in fairness, okay, that we, for instance, in the lands at Valentine, I'm not sure, but I'm hearing that, for instance, that since we sort of, the residents made a protest about it in terms of the whole question of um, the issue of whether or not it should be given a change of use, at least that has stopped the process, which is good.
Really?
So
So
it
you're
shows,
you're saying, oh, hold up,
right.
people.
Mhm, mhm.
Hold up. I hope Granny heard this, because it means that we need to do something about Garrison. So you're saying, tell us again, tell us this good
No,
news.
I'm
Folks,
saying,
listen.
I have some information that that reveals that somehow, that as a result of the concerns that were expressed in result as pertains to the lands at Valentine, where you want to transfer the current operating land that is under Keynes into a residential area, that at least that has stopped the process, which is good. It does not mean, by the way, it does not mean, or it prevents the owners from, again, now have a plan that, you know what, or we will show them. We're going to take this land, we're going to make sure that they can't cultivate any canes there, let it run into shrubs like they're doing on the other side, okay? Okay, and that is like an army convince them that they got to take it out of agriculture. But again, what I'm saying is that that is something we should not permit. It shows you, right, that we sometimes we ascribe things to persons which really, in truth and in fact, it is just built on that some people have this thing about them that once a person is named a prime minister or minister or something, somehow they just cave in, and because they want something from the individual. And I think that basically we have to be honest in our debate. We have to understand that, for instance, let us stand up and see what is best for Barbados at the same time. And that is all we can ask of those
Yeah,
persons.
but some people say, Mr. I bring you in this, Mr. Knox, because um, I truly appreciate what you come on here and do, and I wanna, there are people who say, well, look at what happened to Ballantyne. They have stopped that process. Is it because of the type of people who protested? Is it some people say, oh well, the rich people protested? I mean, I went to Ballantyne, and there I was walking through Ballantyne with black and white people.
Yeah.
So unless you're talking about the black bourgeoisie as well. But do you think, Mr. Ballantyne, that had anything to do with it, the socio-economic status of the people who, not even so much about race or whatever, because race is a social construct. But the socio-economic status of the people who protested while they listened to the people in Ballantyne.
I think the video showing the land flooding was the decisive factor. I think that's all that was needed.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can't build houses on the land.
I got
At
you.
least,
I
there's at
got
least
you.
one day in the year when it's all they're all washed away. I don't. I don't think anybody realized until one of the residents out there took the video. I think it was last year. We had our rain, I don't think anybody realized just what was going on in that field. And it just so happened that the field had been plowed and planted, and first crop was coming. Right?
Mhm.
So
Well,
I think
well,
rather than look like a bunch of idiots,
well,
decided to not
you
do
know
this.
what, what we say, thank you, this is the kind of work that
Mhm.
we want to do on the Marcy Week show. And the one of the first places that you came, actually,
That's right.
before you went to they had you on Brass Tacks, you were right here on the Marcy Week showing
Yeah,
us.
okay.
And that's why
Mhm.
the people said to me, call back Mr. Knox to come on. And Mr. Knox came on and showed the flooding, and who want to invest in that? And so and so it'd be very hard for them to get it done. And we're laughing, but really and truly, I believe that education is so important. And that's why the Marcia Week show is very important. And this is what we do on here. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping with us, Mr. Paul and Mr. Knox, I'm hoping with us sharing that grandma,
Mhm.
her concern, that as
Mhm.
a people we will pick up grandma's concern.
Mhm.
Why can't
Oh,
we
mhm.
why can't we become start doing a hashtag I stand with grandma,
That, that's
something
right. You
about
see,
the barrister, huh?
and Marcia, something I've noticed in this country today. I
Yeah.
was reading a commentary on the part of somebody, and we like to marginalize our more mature folk, older folk, very quickly.
Yes.
No, no, it's a fact, right? We do. And I know that there are some persons who would want to dismiss her and say, well, she's 85 years old. Why she worry about that? Let she sit down home and rest herself. But the point is really, and I really want all of us at the end of the day, at whatever age, have to live in this country. And I think that somehow, but we have a situation again in Barbados where we are seeing that people speak disparagingly about certain people, right? Oh, well, you don't want to rest yourself. But that's not the issue. The point is that as long as anyone in this country is able to continue to make a contribution, philosophically and otherwise, to debate in Barbados and is able to give ideas, they should be heard. And that is why I do have a lot of respect to Mr. Lynch. I do have a lot of respect that she has at least the mindfulness, okay, to come and give her opinion, right, and give vent to it. And I think we need to respect that. And the thing is really what we do. I don't think we recognize that. It's from those older people that you actually understand Barbados because
Yes.
as you was the geography don't change. It is just that sometimes things do happen in a cycle. And sometimes the way in which it happens, it can be pretty disastrous for us. And we need to listen and to recognize that input is necessary if we have to move ahead as a society. And that's very important. So I really want to applaud her for the fact that she had the forthrightness to come on and to say that. But it also says for us, and this is why I think in terms of agriculture is not something that you benefit from instantly. And that's one of the points we always keep making. Because even in terms of decision making agriculture, we have people who somehow believe that you can make an agriculturalist, put them on a crash program, and all of a sudden you can grow all the peas that you want, you can grow all the beans that you want, carrots, that you become an expert. It does not work like that in agriculture. Agriculture is a long-term commitment in which sometimes you have to go through various cycles of
Real
production.
losses.
That's right, losses, until you get it right. And people in agriculture will tell you that. Even in terms of livestock production, you go through various cycles of production experiences that they will tell you over that process how you get it right. So that is why I knew that when we had this system where we talked about the feed program and how all of a sudden it's not going to happen in 5 years. You've got to hold faith in those farmers and recognize they're going to make mistakes. Many times you're going to walk over there and see those fields not barren, but it is not that they're not trying. They are trying, but they're going to make mistakes, and we as Barbadians have to hold faith with them.
Yeah. But somebody's even saying here, what does the historical society say? Are they prevented from speaking? That's another thing, you know. I mean, this is a historic site. What are they saying? What's their thought on it? Did they approve it, or you don't need that anymore? It's a
You know,
very
again, I always say to you, sadly enough, many of the institutions, if you remember, the Barbados National Trust was a vigorous organization in this country that commented on a lot of developments that happened. A lot of them. We
Greenland.
commented vigorously. Yes, yeah, Greenland is one. That's right. Okay. Uh, but now everybody, strangely, has gone silent. And I don't blame the government for that. I really do. I just think really that maybe it is the type of leadership that you have in those organizations. Maybe you might say, well, I don't want to get involved, as you say, I can stay in my corner and that is it.
Yeah, somebody say all civil and social groups are gagged, and then now they're coming with the cyber crime bill for the further gagging of people. Can you imagine if Mr. Knox was not allowed to be able to share that information? And can you imagine when he showed the flooding in the area? Right, then somebody who was going to develop said, well, I felt my feelings were hurt, or I did not like what he shared. I felt humiliated. They could have felt humiliated.
You know,
And then the cybercrime bill, one second, Mr. Paul, the
yeah.
cybercrime bill would then come in effect, and he would be charged
Wow.
$10,000 or 10 years in jail. And he was bringing truth. He was bringing truth and seeking to, enlighten Barbadians. That is the power of the cybercrime bill, to stop people like Mr. John Knox. Go ahead,
For me, I
Mr.
think
Paul. Who was speaking?
Go ahead, Mr. Knox. Go ahead.
I would say with the cybercrime bill, there's a defamation act. I don't understand why you need a cybercrime bill. If somebody defames you, there are tests. You go through the process. The only way you can get out of that, if you have really defamed somebody, is if you can show that fella did not have a reputation to defame. And if he didn't have a reputation to defame, he did not suffer any harm. Um, so, you know, what? Why spend time on that when we have such pressing issues with the country? Water, land, all sorts of things. Export is bigger than less than imports. I mean, why spend all this time on that subject? It just seems almost pointless.
You know, I would hate to think, and and I'm being very sincere when I say this, that we're in a situation where we don't that legislation is being used for that purpose. Because I think that what you want to do is to encourage information sharing and responsible, and I want to say responsible information sharing in our country. Where basically by having that information, people are able to make better decisions, and that's one of the biggest things, because we don't understand, and sometimes there are some people who want to have a monopoly, what I would call a monopoly on decision making, not recognizing sometimes that by doing that you're also limiting the type of decisions that you make, whether or not you're making the best decision. And sometimes the best decisions come from the most unusual places, as you know, Marcia. Sometimes you and at the most unusual moments. That is why I'm saying that information sharing is not something that I think that we should be afraid of. And I think that it's only when it is handled irresponsibly, and I think by and large that we as a people have handled information responsibly in the past, and I don't think that has changed. That is the culture of Barbados. We try to be responsible in terms of how we do things, and I think that is what we have to do: encourage that type of culture, information sharing, and handling it responsibly. But going back again to the point I'm making, we generally do hope that at this stage that Barbadians, support the need to keep our agricultural lands, at least we reduce the amount of land that is being taken out, okay, and driven into other purposes because it is having a negative impact on agricultural production. It is having a negative impact on the extent to which we are seeing investment in the agricultural sector. It is having those negative impacts, and I really think that it is time that we look to take a stand. And I have said so before that maybe it is time that we probably do a moratorium on future applications for change of use because the truth is it is evidential when you look at the amount of land that has been approved for development already. When you look at the fact of the that Barbados has a large number of its housing stock which is unoccupied, right? Certainly you have to ask yourself. The only thing that is driving it is the fact that there seems to be an insatiable appetite on the part of the banks to push money there because they make it. That's where they're making the money from. But is that in the and the hard question is that in the long term interest of people in this country?
Yeah. Some you were saying, Mr. Paul, that you hadn't heard about the BDF moving from the garrison and going into the middle of the country in St. George. But on Saturday, the PM said that the drawings for the new BDF headquarters were being done. And so this is why this grandma, this 85-year-old grandma, is really upset upset about it because nobody said anything. There was no discussion about it. Nothing. They're just getting up and just doing. Just like it's the same way that we had just gotten up and then we heard that Independence Day was not going to be on the 30th anymore. It was going to be Republic Day. We were just told that. It is in the same way that the Republic. We were told we were going to have a referendum, and we never had any referendum. They just went Republic. It's like everything else that happens in Barbados. They get up, and the PM gets up, and the PM does what the PM wants to do. That is really, I'm wondering if Mr. Ellis was being sarcastic. He's saying, well, whatever the PM wants to do, the PM gets it done. That is really what happened. So she said the drawings already there from the new BDF headquarters. That's Barbados. That's what she's saying. What do you say about it? What do Barbados say about it?
Why do we need a new BDF headquarters? What is has the army has the Barbados Defense Force grown to such a size that it can't be housed where it's currently being housed? There's Paragon. Paragon is a very large site up by the airport. Why is it that they have investment coming for a hotel and that investment is needed to be placed where the defense force occupies? Why can't it be put at Four Seasons? What's the point of having Four Seasons sitting down languishing? I from reading seeing what I've seen in the press, it looks like maybe the government doesn't even own Four Seasons. So why not look at those types of sites and see, rather than go and interfere with a World Heritage site? I mean, you didn't get the designation of a World Heritage site because you had a Hyatt hotel on it. You got the designation because you had historic buildings on it. You're not going to get you actually run the risk of losing the historic, the World Heritage site. You run the risk of losing that.
Yes.
I just don't understand what's the purpose. I don't understand the purpose.
The purpose of it. But hold a second there. Let me just give them another 5 minutes to call in. Everyone, your thoughts on what Grandma is saying. Do you stand with Grandma? If you're saying I stand with Grandma, I want you to call us. Give us a call, 1-246-236-7000. 1-246-236-7000. If I stand with Grandma, it's a hashtag I stand with Grandma. Give us a call, please. Continue, Mr. Knox, as you were saying.
I don't get. To me, I would really need to see the logic. Um, I argue on the logic, but obviously, and maybe that people have given up and saying that the government can do what it wants to do. But I still think there has to be an element of logic and common sense. And um, I don't know if, I mean, it's good to hear grandma and the fire in her belly, but at the same time, I think we should be directed at asking the questions. Why does the BDF need to leave? Need to move from there? What is special about the new headquarters? If the plans are being made for this or for be made for this new headquarters, what is different between them and the ones that are they just massive barracks now for a big army? What exactly is being planned? And that's to me how I would approach it. I would approach it is let me see the logic. Um, so that's how I feel.
Yes, 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 yes. Someone is saying that David Ellis said that I stand with grandma. Please clarify that if he yes. I'm wondering if Mr. Ellis was being sarcastic. Judith Dilk saying she stands with grandma. Teroni said we stand with grandma. Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, this if you can't see what is happening, can you imagine if this was being done under another administration? Can you imagine? You remember the same David Commission, who is related to the Prime Minister, said that the Hyatt was going to cast a shadow on his ancestor's grave. And that is for him is offensive. Just a shadow is going to be casted on his ancestor's grave, and it mattered to him. And he said he will lay down in the road. And he went and got an injunction to stop that hotel. You remember that? And look at what is happening right now. Granny should get full respect, and we're going to hunt her down and try to find her. We will try to find grandma and try to have a conversation with her and see how far she wants to take this. And we need to have a whole march called I Stand With Grandma. We need to get up there. Yeah, we need to wear a shirt. We need to put it up on our WhatsApp. We need to put it up on our social media pages. I stand with grandma, and something about the BDF. Yeah. Somebody else could come up with the other part of the hashtag. The first part, hashtag I stand with grandma. And what is the next part of the hashtag? Something to do with the BDF. Yes. Well, it's 9:59. And I know Miss McLean was trying to make it on, but she had a very important meeting this evening. And so she wasn't being able to make it on. But I just want to say that this has been really, really interesting. Again, you two gentlemen always do this. Lots of education, lots of knowledge. And we want to celebrate with the people of Valentine. That's what it's all about. And we see a victory there. And we've been gaining victories. And we're going to get a victory with the cybercrime bill, one way or the other. Because we're telling them, go ahead. And if you try to pass that bill, we'll make sure that we vote you out. We will make sure. As Dale Worrell is saying here, vote them out. Yeah, vote them out.
Will we have voting machines from Dominion?
If we have what?
Voting machines from Dominion.
From where?
From Dominion and Smartmatic.
No, what is that? You're just speaking over my head there.
Oh, what happened in America with Trump and the elections? I was just being facetious.
Oh, I got you. No, I'm following you. Yeah, I'm following you. But folks, yes, go ahead.
30 love is pretty astronomical. You have to admit. But anyway, that's life.
You have to what?
You have to admit that 30 Love is a little bit, makes you think.
Makes you think, right? It makes you think,
Yeah.
really. Yeah, I agree with you. Listen, folks. Well, we've come to the end of the show. And I know you were so engrossed in the knowledge that you didn't call in tonight. But what I want, let me just address this person here, Frank Gilks, before I delete them. Listen, there is nobody paying me any money, Frank Gilks. So you and that political prostitute, Patrick King, could go to hell. Okay? Nobody is paying me any money. As long as I have breath in my body, and even if I go to Timbuktu, I will open up my computer, a computer here that one of the members, a viewer, gives me to use. So let me just address you right now. So you better get out of here with your nonsense and your lies. Go and ask Patrick King about the contract that he's getting. Nobody pays me. None. Absolutely none. That man is a liar. Like you, Frank Gilks. You are a yard fowl that you are, that pick up grain and corn. Don't come on here and mess with me tonight. Okay, so where are you? And you make sure you don't come back on here. You don't come back here and mess with me tonight. Okay? With your lies. Okay? Go back. You want to support your prime minister? You want to support this government? Support the government. I'm sure you can go to the grocery and you can buy fuel. Okay? But listen, do not come on here and talk nonsense. Yeah? Good. So let's get back to this, because I'm no walkover. I'm no walkover. Okay? Good. Yeah. So guys, we are closing. Oh, there's somebody. One second. Let me get that one call here coming in. Good night. Good night.
Will lives in America, so he is a yard fowl just that his father was.
What? I didn't hear you, ma'am. What are you saying? Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And when I start to address them, then you're all are telling me, don't know. I'm gonna need to address some of these things. Okay? Because this is getting out of hand now. Good. All right. So we're gonna close tonight. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all so very much. And we're gonna see you again on Friday. Remember, we have the march on Saturday. Okay, so Saturday we have the march at 10 o'clock, and we are going to, we're wearing white, and it's a solemn march and a solemn walk, we're calling it, and everybody wear white. And this is where we're standing up against the increase in the crime in Barbados. All right, so guys, you want to say good night to the people, and we are closing.
Okay, good night to all of you, and you have a restful night. Thank you.
Yes.
Good night. Have a good night. Thanks for having me. See you later.
Always, Mr. Paul. These are this is the dynamic duo, and Mr. Knox. Thank you all very much. God bless you all. God bless you. God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. God bless. Dave, any?
Nor English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. Barbados is too small for me. My pocket full now, you and job they promise me. And a girl like me want power and more money. You cry transparency, but that's a no for me. Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down.
All right. Good night, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye.